Buenos días a todos. Bienvenidos al Ayuntamiento de la Ciudad, al Consejo Municipal, en nuestra reunión del Consejo Municipal de Los Ángeles. Hoy es 4 de febrero, martes 2003. El Consejo Municipal se reúne todos los martes, miércoles y viernes a las 10 de la mañana. El público es bienvenido para participar en este proceso gubernamental municipal. Para miembros del público que no pueden venir en persona, pueden vernos a través del canal de cable 35, también en vivo, a través de la página de internet o vía telefónica. Actuario, tome lista. Bernson, Galanter, Garcetti, Grohan, Holden, Labange, Wasikowski, Pacheco, Perry, Wise, Padilla, 10 miembros presentes, el quórum completo, señor presidente. Miembros del Consejo Municipal y del público. Orden en la sala, por favor. Sabemos que nuestro país pasó otra tragedia este fin de semana pasado. Perdimos solamente 7 astronautas, pero 7 héroes. 6 quienes representaban al gran país de los Estados Unidos de América. Por lo tanto, pido que nos pongamos de pie y observar un momento en silencio en memoria de ellos.
Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias. Como muchos de ustedes ya saben, nuestro presidente está en la ceremonia nacional honrando a los héroes y a los astronautas que fallecieron el sábado pasado. Las presentaciones que seguirán es nuestra versión para participar en esta memoria nacional. Por lo tanto, me gustaría reconocer a nuestra colega, la concejala Han, tiene un invitado especial de las Fuerzas Aéreas de los Estados Unidos. Gracias, mientras seguimos en duelo por la pérdida de ese grupo de astronautas. Siempre es importante continuar diariamente recordándoles, recordando a los que sirvieron a su país en diferentes maneras. Me gustaría presentarles al padre James Roslin de la Fuerza Aérea de Los Ángeles, de la base de la Fuerza Aérea, y por lo tanto pensé que esto era adecuado que viniera para darnos un minuto de inspiración y también un saludo a la bandera.
Those in military uniform, please stand at
En
attention.
uniforme
The rest
militar, pónganse de pie, por favor, en atención.
standing of
El
attention
resto,
form, and put your
mantenga
hand over your right heart and
pie,
repeat
pongan su
after
mano
me.
sobre su corazón, repitan.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Join with me in the time of
En
inspiration.
ese momento de inspiración, por favor,
1,000
acompáñeme.
points of light shimmer in the night sky as where stars and planets dwell beyond our Earth's atmosphere. 7 heroes braved the dangers inherent in space travel as the Columbia roared from her launch pad in Florida into space. There in space, they performed scientific experiments that would benefit mankind. 7 teammates bonded together in a common mission for a universal purpose. 7 astronauts trained to be on the cutting edge of human endurance and skilled to perform the extraordinary feat of reaching out to touch the face of space. We pray Providence's comforting love for the 7 astronauts' families, their friends, and the nations grief-stricken from this tragedy.
Oramos, por
We
lo
look up to the
tanto,
stars and see the future in
por estos
space travel
ratos
and
miramos al
acknowledge the depth
cielo
of curiosity
del espacio y
about
reconocemos
space that has
la
been given to
profundidad de curiosidad
mankind
del
by a
espacio que
gracious
se nos
creator.
otorga a los seres
The
humanos por un
magnificent
creador
splendor of our universe draws
generoso.
mankind to reach out beyond the bonds of Earth and search
Esto
the
hace
universe for those
alcanzar más
unanswerable
allá y buscar el
questions
universo por
in the
estas
minds of all
respuestas.
humanity.
Quizá en la mente de toda la humanidad debemos de mirar más allá de nuestro duelo, a las esperanzas que motivaron a estos seres. Debemos de pensar más en la esperanza del momento y mirar a los planetas y las estrellas y darnos cuenta que lo que animó a estos astronautas que se entrenaran año por año solamente para tener la oportunidad de ser parte de la nave del Columbia, que seamos guiados por esa esperanza de los 7 astronautas, y esperamos que mañana volvamos a regresar al espacio, que aquí en el sur de California, en la ciudad de Los Ángeles, compartamos la esperanza del futuro con nuestros compañeros. Que Dios bendiga a América y a Israel por estos 7 héroes que nos enseñaron a alcanzar más allá de la tierra y aprender más sobre la humanidad, nuestro planeta y nuestro universo. Que nuevas generaciones tengan la visión para alcanzar más allá del presente y así llegar a la exploración del espacio y encontrar maneras que beneficiarán a la humanidad con nuevos descubrimientos. Que nunca nos demos por vencidos lo que parece imposible hasta llegar hacia la otra frontera, mientras Dios nos bendice con fe para el futuro. Gracias. Amén. Gracias. Padre Roslin, ahora me gustaría reconocer al alcalde de nuestra gran ciudad, el alcalde Juan, la congresista Diane Watson, para una presentación especial. Gracias, señor presidente Padilla, miembros del Consejo Municipal, la congresista Diane Watson está aquí para hacer una presentación especial al Consejo Municipal, estudiantes de la preparatoria Dorsey. En parte estuvieron conectados en Colombia en un proyecto de ciencia que ellos que iba en esa nave espacial. Creciendo yo aquí, yo recuerdo que me despertaba y yo tomaba parte en el programa de Mercury y de Apolo, los astronautas, y a través de los años algunos de nosotros se hemos desconectado con el programa espacial, el cual está en realidad llegando a fronteras de conocimiento humano. Estos estudiantes estuvieron muy conectados, estuvieron muy involucrados y quizás más que muchos de nosotros sabíamos quiénes los astronautas eran antes de darnos cuenta de esta tragedia. Creo que es un gran programa de NASA que conecta nuestros distritos escolares urbanos a este camino tan importante en nuestra humanidad. Por lo tanto, ahora me gustaría dar el micrófono a la congresista Watson para hacer una presentación especial. Gracias. Muchas gracias, alcalde Hahn, al Consejo Municipal, a la preparatoria de Dorsey, al director, Dr. Mahmoud, superintendente de las escuelas, Ray Romer, la persona que representa al distrito donde está ubicada Dorsey, Janita Hayes, los otros miembros de la Junta Directiva, personal administrativo que están representados aquí, el Dr. René Jackson, distinguidos invitados y principalmente nuestros estudiantes de Dorsey, la preparatoria de Dorsey. Alcen la mano. Juan Ortega y Christine Majero. Palabras no son suficientes para describir cómo me sentí yo el sábado por la mañana cuando el presidente del grupo demócrata anunció esa tragedia. Señor presidente, quiero pedir que todos ya tomen asiento. Yo creo que me recuerda como la persona que los mantuvo a todos ustedes en pie. Mi corazón se extiende a las familias, a las amistades, a los seres queridos de los 7 hombres y mujeres tan valientes, esos astronautas. Estamos en duelo de la tragedia, de esta pérdida de este grupo de astronautas cuya vida era tan preciosa que ahora dejaron una legacía tremenda hoy, mientras la nación y NASA lucha
I
con
commend the mayor
tristeza.
and the city council
Yo felicito al
for
Consejo Municipal y al
honoring
alcalde por honrar
the
el
sacrifices of the
sacrificio de los
astronauts by
astronautas,
recognizing
reconociendo
the hope for the future
la esperanza del
that the
futuro
STARS
que las
program
estrellas, el programa de estrellas
represents through
represente
these three
a través
Dorsey
de
High
esos
School
tres
students.
estudiantes de la
These are
preparatoria
your
Dorsey. Estos
students.
son sus
The
estudiantes.
STARS Academy
La
is an
Academia
online
STARS es
cultural and scientific global learning program.
un programa de
It
aprendizaje global y
incorporates
cultural.
a
Incorpora
standard-based curriculum in math, science, language art, geography, and
un
technology.
plan académico en tecnología, ciencia,
On the
matemática.
STS 107
En el
mission,
STA,
schools
la
from
misión
6
07 escuelas de
countries
6 diferentes
developed
países
life and
desarrollaron
physical
vida
science
y ciencia
experiments
física
while
experimentos
working with
mientras trabajaban con los
astronauts, space
astronautas,
scientists,
científicos
engineers,
espaciales,
managers, and
ingenieros,
other experts.
administradores y otros peritos.
And for this
Y
mission,
por esta misión,
the participating schools came
las
from
escuelas que
Australia.
participaron
They had
llegaron
a
desde
science,
Australia,
spider experiment,
un
Israel.
experimento de
They
ciencia,
had
Israel,
a
ellos tuvieron
crystalline fiber growth experiment,
un
Japan,
experimento de fibra,
Makita
Japón,
fish growth.
crecimiento de
USA,
Matira, los Estados
in New
Unidos,
York,
en Nueva York,
had the
tenía
ant experiment.
el experimento de las hormigas.
Liechtenstein had the
Liechtenstein
Carpenter B
tenía el
experiment,
experimento de carpintería
and
B y
China
China.
and the students
Y
from
los
Dorsey High
estudiantes de la
School
preparatoria
had the
Dorsey
silkworm
tenían el
experiment.
experimento también
The
de
students were involved
los
for
estudiantes
almost 2
involucrados ya por
years.
casi 2
Just
años.
over 1 year ago,
Hace
this wonderful
aproximadamente un año
project
este
came to my
proyecto tan
attention.
lindo.
And I immediately approached the principal at
Hablaron sobre
Dorsey High School,
el
Dr.
proyecto y yo
Mahmood.
inmediatamente hablé con el
with the
director de
idea.
Dorsey, la preparatoria,
The
el
Dorsey
doctor
Science
McCoy, con esta idea. Los
students were
estudiantes de
required to write
Dr.
an
Dorsey de
essay
ciencia
explaining
se requirió
why
que
they
escribieran
wanted to participate
una historia
in the STARS
explicando por
Academy.
qué ellos querían participar en
The
esta
three
academia de
students
STARS.
here
Estos
today,
estudiantes que
Christina,
presentan el día de hoy,
Annabelle, and
Cristina,
Juan,
Annabelle y Juan,
represent our
representan
best
los
and our
mejores
finest that the LAUSD has
estudiantes
to
que
offer.
tiene
If
LAUSD
nothing
para
else,
ofrecer, si
they
a
are
lo
our
mínimo
hope
son nuestra
for the
esperanza
future.
para el futuro.
Although the Dorsey High
Aunque
School
la
students
preparatoria, los
joined
estudiantes
the
de
STARS
Dorsey
program late in the program,
se integraron al
I was
programa
pleased
de
that they could
Academia STAR,
participate in this
me dio
most
mucho gusto que ellos
worthy
pudieran
and
participar en
highly
esta
sophisticated scientific experiment.
experimento científico
It is the
sumamente
kind of
sofisticado.
event
Es el tipo
that can
de
provide the
evento que puede
inspiration
proveer la
to a young
inspiración
man
a un
or a
joven,
young
a
woman
una
to
jovencita
pursue a
para
career in science and
seguir una
space
carrera de ciencia y
exploration.
espacio, exploración de
After
ciencia
the
y
July 2002 launch
después
was
de
postponed,
que se
and the
atrasó
Chinese students had visa problems, the Dorsey
el envío de
students were
la nave
challenged
espacial en
to
2002,
move from
los
observers to
estudiantes
collaborators
se les retó de
on the
pasar de
silkworm
observadores a
experiment.
colaboradores en
This
este experimento.
binational
Esto,
experiment
experimento
investigates
binacional,
the effect
investiga el
of
efecto
microgravity
de
on silkworm larvae
microgravidad
and its development and its silk production. Christina,
Juan,
and
Cristina
Amabel
y
fully
Annabelle
constructed
completamente
the
desarrollaron
silkworm habitat and installed it
este experimento y lo
aboard the
instalaron
payload module
en el
prior
módulo
to Columbia's
antes
launch.
de que se
They
enviara
went
esa
down
nave
to Cape
espacial de
Canaveral.
Colombia.
They were
Fueron
there
a Cape
10
Canaveral,
days.
estuvieron
It
allá
was a
10 días.
hands-on
Era un
project.
proyecto
And this is what
laboral.
binds them
Esto es lo que los une
to
a ellos,
the Columbia,
a
to our
Colombia,
astronauts,
a nuestros
to the
astronautas
stars.
y a las estrellas.
So I
Por lo
applaud
tanto,
the
les
dedication
aplaudo
of the
la
LA
dedicación
Unified
del Distrito Escolar de los
Instructional
Estados Unidos,
Technology
tecnología
that is
académica,
administered
que
by Joe Oliver, wave your
es
hand,
administrado
Joe,
por Joe
for
Oliver,
his work with
por
the
su
students
trabajo con estos
to instruct
estudiantes
them
para
in a short amount of
instruirles
time.
en muy poco tiempo.
Joe changed his
Joe
focus
cambió su enfoque
from a little of
de
everything
un
to the
poco de
Silkworm 101 and was pleasantly
un
surprised with
experimento
how
de
quickly the
Silkworm 101 y
students learned the new
sorprendentemente
material.
se dio cuenta que tan rápidamente los estudiantes aprendieron
the
este material.
generosity
Yo quiero mencionar la generosidad
A
de
Dorsey High School alum,
un previo
Goldenberg,
graduado de Dorsey, de la
Paul's Big
preparatoria
Screen.
Dorsey,
Also,
también
Roche Laboratories
de
and
Laboratorios
Daffa
Roche
Simon
y Daffa Simon
for funding our STARS
por
program.
patrocinar nuestro
We had to
programa de
raise the
estrellas.
money
Tuvimos que
to
recaudar
send these youngsters to
este
the
dinero
Cape,
para mandarlos
to
a
house them,
Florida
to feed
para darles
and let them
casa,
enjoy the
hogar y
extracurricular
comida, y ayudarles
activities.
también a disfrutar
I want to especially
actividades
thank the
adicionales.
principal
Especialmente quiero dar
again
las gracias al
and Dorsey High
director
School
y
teacher
a la
Catherine Webb, who
profesora
accompanied
Kathleen
the
Webb, profesora
delegation
de
down to the Cape.
preparatoria de
And
Dorsey.
I
Ella
want to
fue con esta
say to School
delegación
Board
a Cape. Quiero
Representative
decir también al
Genethia
representante
Hayes,
de la Junta Directiva,
you
la
need
señora
to be
Hayes. Usted
extremely
tiene
proud
que
of what
sentirse
our
sumamente
inner-city
orgulloso de lo que
students
nuestros
are
estudiantes de
producing
nuestra ciudad están
and can
produciendo y
produce.
pueden producir.
I also thank
También
Associate
quiero
Superintendent
dar
Tel
gracias
Alexander
al
and most of all,
subsuperintendente
Superintendent
y
Roy
al superintendente
Romer
Roy
for their
Romer por
administrative support.
su
I want
apoyo
you to meet
administrativo. Quiero
Richard
también que
Butcher from my staff. Step out, Richard.
presentarles a
He
Richard de mi
accompanied the
personal. Él
team
fue con
down,
este grupo
and I was in another
y
part
yo
of the
estuve en otra
country when
parte
they
del
called me
país
from the
cuando me
Cape.
llamaron del
And he
Cape
said,
y
this
él me
is
informó,
such an
esto es
overwhelming experience,
una
not
experiencia
only for our students,
extraordinaria,
but
solamente
for
para
me. We
nuestros estudiantes,
can't
pero para
even
mí
wrap
no
our
podemos
minds around it.
siquiera
And I
imaginar lo
want
que
you to
está
know,
ocurriendo.
these are
Quiero
the
que sepan que estas
t-shirts
son las
that were given
camisetas
to
que
all
se
of
nos
us with the
otorgaron
patch.
a todos con este
Each
logo.
one of the
Cada uno de los
participants
participantes
received a packet
recibió
of the
un
original
paquete de
astronaut postcards, which they
las
mailed to
tarjetas
themselves and to our office,
originales, el cual se
an
enviaron
original
por correo ellos
patch,
mismos, y
which
también un
will
logo
be
original
framed for
que será
prosperity, and
mostrado
received
para
all the
prosperidad, y también recibieron
material.
todo
And I
el
want you
material. Y también
to
quiero
also know
que
this,
sepan esto,
that they were monitoring
ellos
their experiment.
estuvieron
NASA gave them 2
monitorando su
hours a day
experimento. NASA les
to
otorgó 2
download,
horas al
and they are
día para
keeping a journal. And I have told them that
ver
this
todo eso en
journal will
internet, y
be
están
part of the
manteniendo un
history
libro, y les
of
dije que
space
este
exploration
libreto
in
es
the United
parte de
States.
exploración
So I
del
am
espacio en los Estados Unidos. Por lo
especially
tanto,
proud
especialmente
of our
tengo un gran
students,
orgullo por estos estudiantes de Cristina Mojero, Juan Ortega,
Amrabel,
Amanabel, Antibet,
who have represented
quienes han
themselves, their
se han
families,
representado ellos mismos, a
Dorsey
su
High
familia,
School,
a la preparatoria de Dorsey,
LAUSD,
al LAUCD
and my district,
y a mi
thank you,
distrito. Gracias.
so very profoundly well.
Profundamente,
And I say to the 3
extraordinariamente,
of
y quiero
them,
decir a ellos 3,
Ad Astrum. This will be
esto
our
será
motto,
nuestro
to the
motto
stars.
para
And I
las
want you to
estrellas, y
know
quiero que
that your
sepan que sus
projects
proyectos
and their dedication
y
to
su
science is
dedicación
an
a
honor
ciencia es un honor
to those who have been
para los
lost,
que
but an inspiration
han fallecido, pero
to
es una
those
inspiración
yet
para
to come.
los que aún vendrán.
So let's
Por
keep
lo
the
tanto, hay que
focus,
mantener
all
el
of you,
enfoque, todos
on our
ustedes,
students.
en
They
nuestros
indeed
estudiantes.
can
Ellos sí
excel.
pueden
They can
lograr
excel to the heavens.
hasta
Let's work
llegar al
hard
cielo.
to
Hay que trabajar
provide
arduamente para
them with the
proveerles
support
el
that they
apoyo
need.
que necesitan.
We need to believe
Necesitamos
in
creer
them,
en ellos,
and we know
y sabemos
they can
que
do.
ellos sí pueden
And I want
lograrlo.
to
Por lo
end
tanto,
this
quiero terminar esta
presentation by saying
presentación
good things
diciendo
have come
buenas
out of the
cosas que
tragedy.
han resultado de
We
esta
are starting
tragedia.
a
Hemos
Columbia
empezado
Memorial Fund
un
to keep our students
fondo
motivated,
de Colombia para
to
mantener a los
create
estudiantes
opportunity
motivados, a
for
mejor
all of the
oportunidad
students
para
in
todos los estudiantes en
And we
LAUCD,
have
y
received
hemos recibido
calls
llamadas
from many
de
different businesses that want
muchísimos
to
comercios que
contribute
quieren
so
contribuir a
that
este
we can
fondo para así
expand
poder
our ability
agrandar nuestra
to
habilidad
put our
de
students
poner a
into
nuestros
space.
estudiantes en el espacio.
I also want you to
También
know
quiero
that
que
we're going
sepan
to
que
take their experiments
vamos
and
a
put them
llevar sus experimentos y vamos a
into
incluirlos
the Space Science Museum in
en el Museo
Washington,
de Ciencias
D.C.
del Espacio en
And the
Washington,
students have
D.C. Los
already
estudiantes ya
started an
han
international
iniciado
network
una
around the
red
globe
internacional en
to
todo
their
el mundo
counterparts in China,
con sus
Japan,
compañeros estudiantes en
and
China, en
those that they had
Japón,
met
y los que
down in Cape
conocieron en
Canaveral.
Cape
So,
Canaveral.
Mr. Mayor,
Por lo
if I
tanto,
can, may I
señor
have the
alcalde,
students come up
quiero que
for
pasen los
just a few
estudiantes
words.
para decir unas
As you
pocas
go.
palabras.
Congressperson
Congresista
Watson,
Watson,
we want to thank you
queremos dar las
for
gracias a
sponsoring
usted
this program
por patrocinar este
at
programa
Dorsey High School,
en la
which is in my
preparatoria de
district,
Dorsey, el
but
cual está
certainly
ubicado en mi
this
distrito.
program is
Este
a
programa,
model
claro,
which will
es
be
un
used
modelo que se
throughout the city of
utilizará
Los Angeles, I'm sure, with
en la ciudad de Los
Congress,
Ángeles, estoy seguro,
Superintendent
con
Romer
el
here,
superintendente
Governor,
Romer
and other parts of the
y
state.
otras partes del
nation,
Estado y en la
because it's so
nación,
worthwhile.
porque vale la
We're
pena.
saddened
Estamos muy
by the
tristes
loss
por
of
la
those
pérdida de
7 astronauts.
los 7 astronautas.
It's not an end to the
No
program.
es un fin al programa,
It's just a new beginning.
es un principio.
It starts with these young people
Empieza
here
con
today
estos jóvenes aquí
will certainly
presentes el día de hoy,
embark on
quienes
a program of
empezarán con un programa de
space
ciencia y
exploration.
exploración al espacio.
They will not be turned around. Not just
No
these three students here.
retrocederán no solamente los
but
tres
students
estudiantes,
like
pero
them,
estudiantes como ellos,
think like them,
que piensan como
have a
ellos,
dream as
que
they
tienen un
have
sueño como
throughout
ellos
the
lo tuvieron
nation
en toda la nación
and around the world.
y en todo el mundo.
It's a great feeling
Es
to
un gran
participate
sentimiento poder participar
in a space
en la
exploration
exploración espacial,
program.
un programa de este
Many of
tipo.
those
Muchos
were turned
de
on and became competitive
ellos
after Sputnik.
empezaron
one
la
of them.
competencia y yo
And
fui
then
uno de
after
ellos. Y
the
después
President of the United
de
States,
que el presidente de los
John
Estados
Kennedy, when he
Unidos, John
said,
Kennedy, cuando dijo,
In this decade,
en esta década
we will send
enviaremos hombres
to the moon
a la
and
luna
return them safely.
y regresarán
And that was
con
done.
seguridad y se llevó a cabo.
And then the program went
Y el
on and
programa
on.
así
This is a
continuó.
new beginning.
Esto es un principio
I am convinced
nuevo.
and
Yo estoy
Congress
convencido
should
y el Congreso
allocate
debe
the sufficient funds necessary to
otorgar
go
los fondos
to create
suficientes necesarios
and invent a
para
new
crear
generation of
e
spacecraft
inventar una nueva generación
design and exploration.
en diseño, exploración en
America
el
needs it.
espacio. Lo necesita América.
That commitment,
Este
and so do the
compromiso
people of the world.
y también
We've
la humanidad
benefited
del
in so
mundo.
many ways
Nos hemos beneficiado de
from that
muchísimas
kind of
maneras de este tipo
experiments
de
on
experimento
space
en el
and here in the
espacio
planet Earth.
y aquí en el planeta.
Orthopedic surgery, biomedical engineering. We've been
La
helped in
ingeniería
so many
biomédica
ways.
nos ha
The people
ayudado de
of our
muchísimas maneras
world.
las personas
And so,
de nuestro mundo. Por lo tanto,
Congress, School board
congresista,
member,
miembro de la Junta Directiva
Senator,
Escolar, senadora,
ambassador, and now
embajadora,
congressperson
ahora congresista
Diane E. Watson.
Diane E.
The
Watson.
mayor of the city of Los
El
Angeles
alcalde de la ciudad de
is
Los
commending you
Ángeles le está felicitando
for
a
your
usted
commitment in
por su
initiating the
compromiso al
NASA STAR
iniciar
program at
un
Dorsey
programa
High
de
School.
STAR de NASA
In
en la
conjunction with the
preparatoria Dorsey
launching of the
junto
Space
con
Shuttle
el envío de esta nave
Columbia.
espacial Colombia.
The program is
El
a scientific
programa
global
es
learning
un
program
programa de
that
aprendizaje
embraces space
científico global
exploration
que
and
incluye
science
exploración científica y tecnología
which promotes
científica,
interest
el
and
cual
inspiration to
fomenta
many
interés e
aspiring
inspiración a
students.
muchos estudiantes
Your support
inspirados. Su apoyo
and contribution to
y
the program
contribución a este
have made a great
programa
impact
ha
on
hecho un gran
science
impacto
exploration
sobre exploración
to the city
científica a
of
la
Los
ciudad
Angeles.
de Los
And
Ángeles.
the mayor will
Y
present
el alcalde le presentará a usted este certificado.
We have another certificate
Tenemos otro
commendation will be
certificado
presented to the technology instructor,
Para
Los Angeles
presentar
Unified
al
School District, Joe
instructor
Oliver.
de tecnología del Distrito Escolar de Los Ángeles, Joe Oliver.
We got a pretty good idea what you know.
Tenemos muy buena idea de lo que usted, de sus
And to
conocimientos
the
muchísimo.
principal of Dorsey High School,
Y al director
Dr. Evelyn Muhad.
de la preparatoria Dorsey, la doctora
Mike Moo, I'm sorry.
McMu, Evelyn McMu.
Well, and Amabel Atebe.
Y Annabelle Atebet
Are you? Oh, a student.
es la estudiante.
And Christina Mohara.
Y a Cristina Mojara.
A student again to Juan Ortega.
También a Juan Ortega, estudiante.
We have Governor Romer and Teresa.
El
and Ms.
gobernador
Hayes.
Romer, la señora Hayes.
Oh, yeah, they're coming up. And as they come forward,
Mientras ellos se presentan,
here's some replicas of
aquí
the
hay unas
astronaut program
fotografías del programa
that when
de los
these guys went into
astronautas,
space and came home.
de las
And the
personas que fueron al
astronauts
espacio y
signed the
regresaron
cover
a
of this book.
casa. Los astronautas
And we'll just have
firmaron
you all take a look at it
la
after
parte
the program.
enfrente de
This is very,
este
very
libro.
nice.
You want to get a picture, Ron, of all of us? Stand in the middle.
Me gustaría dar las gracias a la congresista Diane Watson y al alcalde Hahn
the certificate.
por este certificado y
Even though we're mourning the loss
aunque
of the 7
estamos en duelo
astronauts,
por la pérdida de los 7 astronautas,
I, for one,
yo
want to dedicate
quiero
this
dedicar este
certificate in honor
certificado
of
en
them
honor
and
a
to dedicate
ellos
it
y
to
dedicarlo
them, their
a
families and
ellos, a su
friends, and to the
familia, a
whole
sus
NASA family.
amistades y a toda la familia NASA.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
I want to say thank you
Quiero dar
to
las gracias
Diane Watson
a la congresista Diane Watson, al alcalde Hahn, por este certificado y quiero enviar en más sentido pésame a los miembros de la familia de los astronautas quienes fallecieron y quiero dar las gracias a todas las personas aquí, a los líderes de nuestra comunidad, gracias por todo lo que han hecho por nosotros. Les doy esta promesa que este día nuestro compromiso continuaremos con nuestro programa espacial y ocurra lo que ocurra, yo siempre lo haré en el futuro porque la vida es un reto y uno tiene siempre que enfrentarse con este reto de la vida. Gracias a todos por todo.
I want to thank Congresswoman Watson and Mayor Hahn
Quiero
for
dar gracias a la
everything they've done
congresista
for
Watson y
us.
al alcalde Hahn por todo lo que han hecho por
I know we're
nosotros. Yo
deeply
sé
hurt
que
by the loss of
estamos ahorita en
wonderful
duelo
human
por
beings who will
la
always be
pérdida
our
de los
heroes
seres humanos
and will never
tan
be
mismos que
forgotten.
siempre serán sus héroes y
And
nunca los olvidaremos. Y
I want to
me
let them know
gustaría
that for them
decirles
I will
que
succeed and I will do my best because I
seré exitosa y
dedicate
haré
to
lo
them
mejor en mi vida
and
porque
because
le
they lost
dedicaré
their
esto
lives
a ellos porque
knowing
perdieron
that
su
they
vida
were going to make
sabiendo
our
que
dreams come
iban
true
a hacer
and
nuestros sueños de realidad y
no matter what they were doing,
no
they will
obstante lo
always
que
be
están haciendo
remembered.
ellos siempre les recordaremos. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so very
Muchas
much,
gracias.
and please
Muchas
remember
gracias y por
our
favor
motto,
recuerden nuestro
Ad Astra,
motto.
to the stars.
Ad
Thank you,
Astra,
Congressman Watson,
a las estrellas. Gracias,
and students
congresista
and
Watson,
faculty from
estudiantes
Dorsey
y
High to give us
profesores de la
this moment
preparatura
today.
Dorsey por este momento de inspiración del día de hoy.
Next,
Ahora
I would like to
me
recognize
gustaría reconocer
Council President
al
Alex
presidente
Padilla.
del Consejo Municipal, a Alex Padilla.
Thank you,
Muchas
Congresswoman,
gracias, congresista.
Mayor, Councilmember Holden, for
Alcalde,
the
concejal
moving
Holden, por esta
presentation.
presentación.
And colleagues, as difficult
Colegas,
as it may be for
es muy
many of
difícil
us,
para muchos, a todos nosotros.
let us honor those by focusing on the
Pero hay
work at
que
hand.
honrar a los
And
que
before we
fallecieron
do that,
enfocándonos
I
en
do
el
have
trabajo
a
presente. Antes de hacer esto,
Good
tengo
news announcement today.
buenas
And it may
noticias.
be a
Anuncio buenas
surprise to the
noticias hoy,
person I'm about
quizás
to ask to come
es una
forward this
sorpresa
time.
para la
Mr.
persona que le
Kerry, will you
pediré,
join me
a la persona
in
que se presenta, el
asking
señor Kerry.
Maria Kostrencich
Acompáñeme.
to come up to the
Quiero
podium?
pedirle a María que pase aquí al micrófono.
Colleagues, it's often that we talk
Colegas,
about
muchas veces
public
hablamos
service,
acerca del
especially for
servicio
those of us
público,
in
especialmente
the public
para
eye
los
who
que
serve in elected
estamos,
office.
que hemos
Well,
sido
for many who
elegidos
watch
en
council proceedings
posiciones
from
oficiales
home, Maria's
del
also in the
público.
public
María
eye.
también muchas
In an
veces
appointed
está
position, she's been serving
ante la
as a
Cámara.
city council clerk
Ella ha
for nearly
sido
6 years.
actuaria
But today
del
we
Consejo Municipal por 6 años,
celebrate
pero
her
celebramos
25-year
sus 25
anniversary
años.
as a city employee.
Este es su aniversario como
a
empleado de la ciudad y
ceremony
tenemos una ceremonia
of a 25-year pin placement that will
de 25 años, una medallita de 25 años, pero me gustaría presentarles a María y darle gracias a ella por 25 años hasta ahora, su trabajo aquí con el Consejo Municipal hasta ahora y decir algo de su carrera. Empezó hace 25 años en la oficina de John Gibson Jr. También fue secretaria para el concejal Flores. Ella trabajó en diferentes puestos con el Departamento de Servicios Públicos, como mencioné, que por casi 6 años ha estado aquí como actuaria del Consejo Municipal con nosotros, ayudándonos en estas reuniones, asegurar que todos los records se hagan adecuadamente y bajo todo el reglamento de la ley. Antes de proceder, quiero pedirle a nuestro actuario principal municipal.
Again,
Que
I've
otras
always
palabras, señor
said
Kerry, yo siempre he dicho
my employees
que mis
do
empleados
put up with a lot, frankly,
resisten muchísimo,
but do
sinceramente,
get
pero
the work done
si
day in,
hacen el
day
trabajo
out,
día
and
tras
Maria is a
día, y
fine
María es
example
un
of
gran
that.
ejemplo de
She's
esto.
been an
Ella ha
excellent
sido una
council clerk.
actuaria del Consejo Municipal
She
excelente. Ella
she's filled the shoes of many outstanding council
ha
clerks going
tomado el
back to
lugar de
Monty Wilson,
muchos
Chuck Port, and Conrad Carter, who's now been promoted up
actores
the line. So
municipales
again,
en el pasado.
she's just
Ella
another
es otro
example
ejemplo
of, I think, the tradition of city
de la tradición
employees
de
and
empleados
the effort they put
municipales
out
y el
on a daily
esfuerzo que
basis.
ellos hacen
We
día tras
often
día.
get blamed
Muchas
for
veces nos
most of the
culpan
things we do,
por
and
lo que
it's nice to
hacemos
see her
y
get
me da
credit
mucho
today.
gusto
I'd
ver
like to
que le
thank
estamos
the
felicitando el
President
día
of
de
the
hoy.
Council and
Gracias
the members of the
al
Council.
presidente del Consejo
Thank
Municipal,
you.
los miembros
Let
del
me also
Consejo. Gracias.
recognize
Me gustaría ahora reconocer
Garcetti.
al señor Garcetti.
I just wanted to
Quiero
congratulate you, Maria, and tell you
felicitarte,
a funny
María,
story.
y decirte
My
una
sister
historia.
watched us
Yo, mi
from
hermana
City
nos
Council on Channel
miró
35 the other
en
night.
Canal
She was asking
35,
me
entonces me
about
estaba
that one
preguntando
council member
acerca
with kind
del
of
miembro
dark curly hair,
concejal
and I
con
said,
pelo
Jan Perry? And he said, no, the other one.
menos ondulado. Jan
Couldn't
Perry
think about
diciendo
it
la
for
otra,
about
la
5 minutes.
otra.
We wrestled and
Después,
finally figured out that it
realmente
was
nos
you.
dimos
So
cuenta que
just know the
eras
public
tú.
out there, when they see you
El
at the
público,
supermarket and they ask you
cuando lo
to
ven a
fill that
usted con
pothole,
el
they're really
público,
depending on your service. But
el
congratulations
público
today.
lo ve a usted en
Let me
el
recognize
del
Councilmember
mercado
Hahn.
y que dicen que
Thank you, Madam
tienen
President.
los
I
baches
just
en la calle.
also want to congratulate
Creo que esto le
Maria.
pedirán cuando está
Maria
allá.
lives right around the
María
corner
vive
from me in
en
beautiful
la
San
calle,
Pedro, so
cerca
she
de mi
also
casa en
gets
San Pedro.
extra stars for making
Ella
that
también
drive from San
quiero
Pedro to City
darle
Hall every
estrellas
day.
adicionales
So
por
really want to
conducir de San
congratulate you.
Pedro
We should carpool
al
sometime.
Consejo Municipal.
Mr. Reyes.
I want to take a moment to say thank you
Quiero dar
and
las gracias a María.
thank you most importantly for
Gracias
being
más
that role model
importante
for
por ser
Latinas.
este
I mean,
ejemplo para
it's good to see that
latinas.
stewardship role
Da mucho
in
gusto
an
ver
institution like
este
this. And
ejemplo
a person like you that's
en una
always
institución así,
smiling,
una persona como usted que
with
siempre
great,
sonríe con
personality,
gran
and
personalidad.
you handle a lot of tough situations, so thank you for that.
Hemos
Most
enfrentado
importantly,
muchas
for being
situaciones
that
muy
role model.
difíciles, pero
Thank you.
muy importante
Mr.
gracias por
Brinson.
ser ese gran ejemplo. Gracias, señor Bernstein.
Mr. Brinson.
Señor Bernstein.
Maria, I just want to
María,
take a
solo
minute to
quiero
say
tomar un
thanks
momento
for
para
all
dar
the
las
support
gracias
that
por
you've
todo el
given,
apoyo
not
que
only to me,
usted
but
me
what
ha
you've
dado a
done
mí,
for the
pero
council
por
and
lo
for
que
the
ha hecho por el
city. We
Consejo
really
Municipal de la ciudad.
appreciate it.
Apreciamos
Thank you
sinceramente
very
su
much.
trabajo y muchas gracias.
Maria, and let me just say,
María,
as a
también
fellow
quiero decir
wearer
como
and bearer of the 25-year pin,
persona
I
que también
welcome
tiene
your
medalla de 25
collegiality
años,
and
bienvenida.
that lifetime experience here in making things better
Gracias
for
por
the
esa
citizens
experiencia
in the city of Los
para que
Angeles.
todo
Let me
sea
recognize
mejor en la
Mr.
ciudad
LeBlanc.
y en los
Thank you
ciudadanos
very
de
much,
Los
Madam
Ángeles. También
President, also a
gracias.
member of the 25-year PIN Club, but I think it was
Soy
26
también
or
miembro del
27 before I
club de
got it.
25 años
What's so
de
nice,
servicio a la
Maria, is how
ciudad. Lo
efficient you've
lindo
done
que
your
es
job and how you've
la manera
contributed
que
greatly. And I
ha
like what Ms. Hahn
desempeñado su
said earlier
trabajo. Me
about
gusta
that
lo
you
que
live
dijo
in
señora
San Pedro,
Han,
because
dijo
some of
que
the
usted
great
vive en
city
San Pedro
employees
porque
come from
muchos de los
San Pedro.
empleados
And you should take
de
her
los
up
que
on
viven en
that
San
ride
Pedro
to carpool so you could take that
compartan
carpool lane
un
and
viaje
get here and be more efficient and make Mr. Kerry happier as you always do. And you do a wonderful job. And I also want to thank
Pedir su
Channel
trabajo.
35
Quiero
because
dar
when I
gracias a
watch
Canal 35 porque
35
cuando
at
yo
night
miro
occasionally,
Canal
you
35
get
por la
name
noche, de
credit,
vez en
which is so
cuando
nice. So people put a
su
name to
nombre
the face,
también
and just like what
está
Ed
en
Reyes spoke
televisión,
of,
por lo
someone
tanto un
sees
nombre.
the other roles, not just the elected officials
Hay un
who
nombre
help
para
run
la
the City
cara,
Council of Los
para que se las
Angeles.
personas en cuenta a los
Congratulations
otros
on your
oficiales
25
de la
years of
ciudad
service,
que
Maria. Thank you.
administran la ciudad,
Let me now
solamente los
recognize
oficiales
Councilmember
elegidos.
Gruhl.
Concejala Groh.
I just also, I know everyone has said wonderful things about you. You have been an incredible resource here, always calm, always confident. When we asked to have you repeat it 3 times because we haven't gotten it. You did the first time. But just want to say thank you for all of your hard work and you've made it pleasurable for all of us here in the
Ha sido un
City
gran
Council.
placer trabajar con usted aquí en el Consejo Municipal. Gracias.
Maria?
On a personal note, colleagues,
Personalmente,
believe it or
colegas,
not, it's
créanlo o
very
no,
hard to believe.
quizás es difícil creer esto,
Believe it or
pero
not, I get an occasional comment
yo
from folks who
de vez
watch
en
our
cuando
council meetings on Channel 35, and they say, the meetings actually run pretty good, pretty
de vez en
well.
cuando me dan un
You
comentario en el
look
público.
organized over there.
Dice, las reuniones
Little do they know what's really going
pasan
on
muy
behind the
bien.
scenes.
Se
But
ven
I
muy
think a lot of
organizadas,
it
no
has to
saben
do
mucho
with not
lo
only
que
how the
está
council members
ocurriendo
conduct themselves, but as many of you acknowledge, reliance
tras
upon the
las
clerk to
cámaras,
keep
pero
things
muchas
moving
veces el actuario hace
efficiently
que todo
and
funcione
effectively here in the council. I
con con eficacia. Y efectivamente, yo cuando fui presidente de las primeras reuniones
rang loud
Dice
and
que
clear
los
in terms
consejos
of being able
de
to move the
la
meetings along. And
previa
it's not
presidente actuaria
mastery of
me
the
ayudaron
policy,
muchísimo
it's
para
not mastery
proceder
of Robert's Rules of
con la
Order.
reunión,
99%
pero
of running a
99%
council meeting
de
is,
administrar una reunión de
Rudy, if
consejo
you're
municipal.
listening,
Rudy,
let
si
the clerk
estás
do the work.
escuchando,
And
lo que me
Maria does it,
dijiste,
and she
Rudy,
does
es
it well. So
que
Maria,
la
thank you so
actuaria haga el
very much
trabajo,
for
María lo
25
hace y
years
lo
and
hace muy bien,
counting.
gracias.
Please
Por
accept this
25 años y
25-year city
contando, por
pennant.
favor, acepte esta medalla
And I won't
por su
even
servicio.
attempt to book you.
25 años, no quiero ponérselo porque quizás
Just
le...
want to thank you
Gracias.
all for the kind words.
Muchas gracias, sinceramente.
It's been lots of fun.
Ha
Looking forward to
sido
a
muy, muy
longer
lindo y espero continuar
you.
trabajando con ustedes
Thank
en el
you, Maria.
futuro. Gracias, María.
And as soon as our clerk
En
returns to the
cuanto
desk,
nuestro
we
actor
will begin
regrese,
with the agenda.
empezaremos con la agenda del día de hoy.
First order of business, Madam President, is approval of the minutes.
Aprobación de
Mr.
las orden
Garcetti
del día.
moves, and Mr. Reyes seconds.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Pacheco moves, and Mr. Labange seconds.
Before beginning the regular agenda, there are several items to continue. Items 27A through 27D, which are closed session items. City Attorney has requested those matters be continued to tomorrow.
Members request to continue items 27A and B, A through D. Any objections to that? Ms. Gruhl? No? Any objections to continuing item 27A, B,
Item
C, and
2.
D? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, without objection, that shall be the order.
And there's also a request from Councilmember Grill to continue item number 2 to February 7th, which is Friday.
Members request to continue item number 2, also without objection, so ordered.
Yes, I'm sorry.
On the regular agenda, item number 1 is an item noticed for public hearing. That matter may be received and filed inasmuch as the new ordinance of intent must be adopted.
Okay, and I do not have requests from members of the public to be heard on this item. Recognizing public hearings being satisfied, we have a recommendation to receive and file item number 1. Is there any discussion? Anybody wishing to call item 1 special? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open the roll on receiving and filing item number 1. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Item 1 is received and filed. Next items, please.
Next items, Mr. President, items 3 through 13 are items for which public hearings have been held, and a motion has been distributed on 13. Do you wish to call that item special?
Let's call item 13 special.
4 special, please.
Item 4 called special by Mr. Labange. And again, members are reminded that items 3 through 13 have had public hearings. A motion from the floor would be required to reopen the public hearings. Are there any other items called special?
13 should be called special.
Mr. 13 is called special. Mr. Weiss, any other specials? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open the roll on the balance of the items. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Next items are items for which public hearings have not been held, items 14 through 25.
And I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on these items. We shall deem the public hearings open and closed. Items 14 through 25 before us, members. Any other specials? Mr. Labange calls item 23 special. Any other specials? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open the roll on the balance of the items. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Items 14 and 15 being ordinances are also approved, seeing that we have 12 members present. Next item, please.
Next item, Mr. President, item number 26 is closed session. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
Let's hold closed session items on the desk.
Going back to, or excuse me, on the continuation agenda, items 28 and 29 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Members, items 28 and 29 before us.
29.
Members wishing to call any specials? Mr. Holden.
29.
Mr. Holden calls item 29 special, leaving item 28. Anybody wishing to call 28 special? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Item 28 is approved. Next item, please.
Next item, Mr. President, going back to the items called special, item number 4 was called special by Councilmember Labange.
Before taking up item number 4, members of the council, if I can have your attention, please. Members of the council, is Mr. Garcetti here? Mr. Garcetti, happy birthday. All right. Madam Clerk, next
Thank
item,
you,
please.
Mr. President. The Los Angeles Zoo, and I'd like to do an instant poll. How many been to the zoo lately? Eric has. Good. Did you see how wonderful the gardens are at the zoo and the long-term planning that was done by the zoo and the work of Manuel Molinato and now the new interim general manager and zoo director has made a difference of all the keepers, not just of the animals, but all the keepers of all the plant and the maintenance people have done an absolute wonderful job. And we've asked that it be changed so that the zoo is not only known as the Los Angeles Zoo, but the Los Angeles Zoo and Botanical Gardens. And it was an idea that came about when we first started talking about the master plan. So it's another positive step. We're upgrading the zoo right now with the new sea lion exhibit. We're working very closely to make sure our support group does the great job that it intends to and wants to do, because the Los Angeles Zoo is one of the best zoos in the country. So we thank you for your support here as the action of today's council will rename the Los Angeles Zoo the Los Angeles Zoo and Botanical Gardens. I thank you all very much for your support on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Are the members wishing to be heard on this item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, please close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Next item, Mr. President, item number 13 called special for an amending motion, and there are 2 reports on the file.
Okay, members, item 13 is back before us. A matter carried over from the last week. Councilmember Weiss, you were interested in having 13 called special. It has been called special. We have an amending motion that's been circulated. Members wishing to speak first? Don't all jump at once. Chair recognizes Mr. Weiss.
I would defer to the maker of the original Section 245 motion if she would wish to address this at the beginning of the discussion. I mean, you don't have to, but...
Thank you, colleague Weiss. Mr. President,
Gracias,
members
señor
of
presidente y miembros del
council,
Consejo Municipal.
we are at our final
Estamos
day,
ahorita en los
according to
últimos
the
días
city
de
charter,
acuerdo al
of
mandato
taking jurisdiction
municipal de
over
tomar
a
jurisdicción sobre
matter that a
un
commission or
asunto que
board voted
una
on
junta
and
directiva y
decide whether or
comisión
not
votaron y decidieron si
we
sí o no.
can use our authority under
Podemos
the
usar
city
su
charter to
autoridad
veto
para
that decision. And
anular
let me
esa
make it
decisión y
very
quiero hacerlo
clear
bastante claro
that
que
I started this
yo inicié
several weeks
esto
ago, and I
hace varias
ended
semanas y terminé
not wavering one bit that the reason I felt like we had
vencerme en
solid
un
ground to
momento,
veto
la
the
razón por
Police
la cual
Commission's
tenemos
decision to adopt this policy was
fundación
based on
sólida
the new
de
city
anular
charter, was based on the new day in City Hall,
lo que la
was based
comisión
on
ha
what we
sido
all
fue
have pledged
basado
to our
en lo
constituents,
que
that
está
no
con nuestra
longer
ciudad
would
de lo que hemos
decisions
prometido
be
a nuestra
made
población, que ya
behind
no
closed
se hará
doors
para
without
comisionistas,
the
puertas cerradas,
input
sin la
of those who
opinión
were most
e información de
impacted
los
by
que
those
son más
decisions.
impactados por estas
And I
decisiones.
felt
Y
in my
yo
heart, and I do still feel
siento
that
y
way
aún
today,
sentí
that
y
the Police
siento
Commission
actualmente que la
adopted a
Comisión de
policy
Policía adoptó una
that
póliza
directly
que
impacted
directamente
hundreds
impactó
of
a
thousands of
cientos y
people in
miles
Los
de personas
Angeles
en la ciudad de Los
who
Ángeles,
believed
quienes
that when they purchased
creen que
their
cuando ellos
alarms,
compraran su
that indeed the
alarma,
police would
que por eso la
respond when
policía
that alarm went
respondería
off.
cuando la alarma
They made
sonara de
that
carro.
policy change,
Cambiaron esta
in my
póliza,
opinion,
en mi
behind
opinión,
closed
tras
doors.
puertas
They did have
cerradas.
a few
Tuvieron
hearings,
unas pocas
but only
audiencias, pero
a few people even
solamente
knew
pocas
that that
personas se
decision
dieron
was
cuenta
being
que se
adopted, that
estaba
policy
siendo
was being
adoptada esta
changed.
póliza, que estaba
And I
dialogándose
felt
esta
like we must
policía que
include
está haciendo
neighborhood
por lo tanto,
councils,
siento
we
que debemos
must
de incluir a
include
concilios de la
community police
comunidad,
advisory boards,
a juntas
we must
directivas
include the alarm
de
industry, we must
asesores de
include
policía,
people
tenemos
who
que
really felt
incluir la
betrayed
industria del alarma y las
by this
personas que se
decision.
sintieron
And I believe where we have gotten to today
que habían
is,
sido
even though I believe it's backwards,
excluidos
and I believe it
de esta
happened
sesión.
after the fact, I do
Yo
believe
creo
that the
sinceramente que el
process
proceso
will now take
ahora
place in the next
se llevará a
60
cabo en los
days.
siguientes
The
60
Police
días. La
Commission
Comisión Policíaca
has given us
nos
60
ha dado
days.
60 días.
We instituted a
Nosotros
task
iniciamos
force
un grupo
last week that will be made up
de personas
of
que
neighborhood
incluirá
councils, that will
a
be made up
consejos
of real people,
comunitarios, de
of
personas
community police
reales,
advisory
de
boards,
junta
that will
directiva
have the
de
alarm industry at the table,
asesores.
that will
Tenemos a la
have
industria
people
del
who are
sistema de alarmas también
impacted
y
by this
personas
decision
quienes
at
son
the
impactadas de
table.
esta decisión, todos en un diálogo.
We have all received a
Todos hemos
letter
recibido una carta
from the president of the police
del
commission, Rick
presidente de la
Caruso,
Comisión de la
who has
Policía,
said,
Rick Caruso, y
and this
él
is
ha
what I
dicho,
believe we all wanted.
eso creo yo que es lo que
We
todos
wanted
queríamos,
the task force
que
recommendations
la
to be heard
recomendación del
and to
grupo
be considered
que
before this policy was
fuese
implemented.
escuchada y que fuese
And
considerada
we want the
esta
final
policía fuera
policy
implementada y
to
queremos que la
reflect
policía final
the input
refleje
of real people who are impacted by this decision.
la
And
involucración de personas reales
this
quienes
is
son
about
impactadas por
trust.
esta decisión. Esto se trata,
I've
eso
been
es
chided by some of my
todo sobre
colleagues that we should put faith
confianza. Muchos me han
in
dicho que tenemos que
citizen
poner
commissions
fe en
and that we should
comisiones
trust
de
them
los ciudadanos
and
y que
take them
debemos de
at their
confiarle
word.
y tomar la palabra de estos
But I'll tell you what,
comisión, pero quiero
while
decirles
many of you
algo,
may
mientras muchos de
trust more
ustedes
than I
quizás
do, what I
confíen
will
más que yo,
do
lo que haré
and what I will
y
pledge
lo
to
que
do
prometo
is that
hacer
we
es
will
que
hold this police commission accountable.
haremos que esta
And
comisión de
when 60
policía tome
days is
responsabilidad y
up,
cuando ya terminen los
if
60
they
días,
have ignored
si han
the task
ignorado
force
la
recommendation, that I
recomendación de este grupo de
guarantee you,
personas, les
we will have a
garantizo
serious
que
problem
tendremos un
with
problema
that.
muy serio con
And I believe
esto
the
y creo
spotlight is
que
now on the
ahora
police
la
commission.
luz está sobre
I
la
believe we are
comisión de
all
la
aware of
policía,
this
todos
issue,
sabemos
and
lo
I
que se en este
believe
asunto y creo yo
that this task
que
force
este grupo de
recommendations will
personas
be
de
heard not only
recomendación
by
será
Public
escuchado solamente
Safety
por
Committee, but
el
it will
Comité
also
de
be
Seguridad
heard by
Pública,
my
también
committee,
a través de mi
Education and
Comité de Educación
Neighborhoods. We will
y
hear their
Vecindades, escucharemos su
recommendations, and then
recomendación
they will make
y
those
después harán esas
recommendations to
recomendaciones
the police commission.
a
And
la
at that
Comisión de
point,
Policía.
we
En este
expect
momento
the final
esperamos
policy
que
to
la policía
reflect
final
the input
refleje la
of
opinión
the task force.
de este
And I
grupo
hope
de
some of the
personas
things
y
the
espero
task
que
force will look
ciertas
at
cosas que considera este grupo de
are
personas
figuring
son
out how we do reduce
decidir
false
cómo
alarms.
reducir
There's no
alarmas
reason we have
falsas. No hay razón
90%
por la cual
false alarms in
tenemos
the city.
90% de
sure
falsas
we have a better way
alarmas.
of
También
collecting
asegurar tener
police permit fees by
mejor
people who
manera
do
de
have alarms. That's the right thing to do. That's the law.
colectar
I'm
permiso,
hoping we'll look at
el
how
costo de
other cities
permiso,
handle some of these
también
problems.
como otras
But most
ciudades tratan con
importantly,
este problema. Pero más
I hope this
importantemente,
task force
espero que este grupo de
will look
personas
at
considerará
the worst case scenarios that we're
a
all
lo que puede
afraid of.
ocurrir, a lo peor que
I
puede
want
ocurrir,
this
a lo que
task
todos
force
tenemos.
to
Creo que este
explore
grupo
what women
explore lo
will be
que
feeling, what
sentirán las
seniors will
mujeres,
be
lo que las
feeling
personas mayores de edad
when
sentirán
they
cuando
close their doors at night
cierren sus
and their
puertas por la
alarm goes
noche y
off,
su
and in
alarma
fact no one
suene
is
y
there to
de hecho
verify
nadie
it.
está ahí
They are
para
unable
verificar
to
y
verify it
ellos
for
no
whatever
podrán
reasons.
verificarlo
I
por
hope
cualquier
the
razón.
task
Espero
force
que
will
este
look
grupo
at
de
that
personas
scenario and
considere
will
este
make
ejemplo
some
también y haga
recommendation
cierta
that the police
recomendación
commission
que la
will
Comisión de
incorporate
Policía
into the final
incluirá
policy
en su póliza
so that
final
people
para
over
que así
the
las
city will
personas en toda
not
esta
feel
ciudad
scared
no
and will not feel
tengan temor,
vulnerable
no se sientan
by our
vulnerables
police
por
department's
nuestras
actions.
acciones de
So
nuestro
I
departamento policial. Por lo
will
tanto,
agree to
yo
this
estoy de
so-called
acuerdo a
compromise.
este compromiso.
I felt a veto would send a
Yo
message,
sentí que anular
but I
esa
think what we
sesión
did learn was
mandará un mensaje,
neighborhood
pero lo que
councils are
aprendimos es
victorious
que
in this. Neighborhood
los
councils are here to
consejos
stay.
municipales son victoriosos,
Their
están
voice
aquí
has been heard long and clear,
permanentemente, su voz
and
se ha
no
escuchado
longer will
claramente
any
y ya
board, will any
ninguna,
commission,
nunca
and not this body
una junta directiva ni
ourselves,
comisión
will
de
we
este grupo de
ever
personas
ignore neighborhood
nunca
councils
ignoremos
again.
los consejos
We will do
municipales, de
so at
nuevo lo
our own
haremos
peril.
a
No
nuestro
one is
propio
above the
costo.
city
Nadie está
charter,
más
which
allá
clearly
del
lays out
mandato
that
de la ciudad,
neighborhood
el cual
councils
claramente
shall be
incluye que los
included
consejos municipales deben de ser
before a
incluidos antes
decision
de que
is
se
adopted,
adopte una
not just
decisión,
before
no
it is
solamente
implemented.
antes de que
So
sea
I thank you
implementada.
for
Por lo
this
tanto, gracias
discussion.
por
I think
este
we've all learned a
diálogo que
lot
todos
through
hemos
it,
aprendido
but I
de
do
este
believe
diálogo,
the
pero creo
city is
necesariamente que
better
la ciudad
off
está en
for
una
the
mejor
inclusions of
posición
neighborhood councils in the
al
decisions that we
incluir
make.
Thank you,
a los
Councilmember Han.
al Consejo
Chair
Municipal,
recognizes
los
next
consejos,
Councilmember
perdón, a los
Zine, followed by
consejos comunitarios.
Councilmember Weiss, Councilmember Gruhl, Councilmember Bernstein, and Councilmember Reyes. Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to compliment our city controller, Laura Chick, who came up with this over 10 years ago to
La tesorera
rectify a
Laura Schick,
problem. And the
que
alarm
hace 10
industry
años presentó
successfully
para
delayed it. And here we are,
mejorar este
10
problema
years
y el
later,
sistema de alarma lo
trying to resolve an issue
demoró. Y 10 años
that
después
should
aquí
have been
estamos tratando de
resolved a
resolver
long
un
time
asunto
ago,
que debe
but
ser resuelto hace
Councilmember
mucho
Chick
tiempo, pero
did try,
concejala
but
Schick
it didn't
trató
work
de hacerlo, pero no
because the industry
funcionó
did
porque la
everything they could
industria
to
hizo
block
todo lo
it.
posible de Así que no ocurre. Ahora tenemos a esta comisión que está hablando sobre este problema y claramente cada uno está de acuerdo que hay un problema que tiene que ser resuelto con las alarmas falsas. La industria tiene que entender que ya no hay más tiempo que demorar y las personas de la industria que se han reunido conmigo me han dicho que hay maneras para corregir este problema, maneras de mejorar esto, de eliminar esto, pero no lo han hecho. Ahora la presión está listo para que esta industria llegue a lado con nosotros. Ya no hay que esperar y todo está en las espaldas de nuestros oficiales en uniforme de responder a estas llamadas diariamente. Yo me reuní con comisionado Caruso y otros comisionados de la policía. Tuve conversaciones con otros miembros de la comisión de la policía y trabajé con la concejala Crew y la concejala Han sobre esto. Yo sé que los tres hemos sido muy diligentes para resolver este asunto. Concejala Mzekowska de Seguridad Pública también ha sido involucrada para tratar de presentar una resolución y yo confío honestamente que esta comisión de policía hará lo correcto. Lo que nos preocupa es de que este va a ser demorado más de 60 días. Lo que nos preocupa es de que el presidente Caruso de la comisión, que esto será demorado por otros 10 años y no dejaremos que esto ocurra. Los 60 días empezaron cuando. Mi pregunta que tengo para Ron Dean es ¿cuándo se iniciarán los 60 días y cuándo entonces pasaremos a contar el tiempo? Porque en 60 días, si este grupo no resulta con nada, implementaremos una policía que estas personas no les gustará. Por lo tanto, es sumamente importante que este grupo de personas empiecen rápidamente, que empiece el tiempo a contar y que presenten recomendaciones. Y quiero decirles que esta es una recomendación, será considerada seriamente, lo tomarán seriamente y tengo confianza y confío que harán lo correcto. Claro, el Consejo de las representantes participarán en el tiempo, pero la pregunta ahora es esta. Hoy es la fecha límite para hacer una decisión y mi recomendación será de recibir y archivar esto cuando empiezan los 60 días y cuántas personas están involucradas en este proceso, en este grupo. Hoy es el primer día de los 60 días. Y estamos en proceso de organizar a los grupos, al grupo de representantes de la industria de alarma, de los consejos de la comunidad, de otros grupos, etc. También estamos trabajando con el ITA tocante a proveer un método índice para que personas puedan escuchar el proceso de este grupo a través del Internet y proveer la información máxima al público para que todos otorguen su opinión y comentar lo que estamos haciendo y empezaremos este proceso el día de hoy. Esto va a ser una audiencia pública absolutamente como un grupo, pero bajo ley estatal y la ley Brown. Un grupo organizado por grupos legislativos tal como el Consejo Municipal es sujeto a la ley Brown y avisos de reuniones, ubicaciones de estas reuniones. Todo eso está bajo la ley estatal. ¿Cuántas personas tenemos para que participen en este grupo? Aún estamos tratando de organizar y administrar que sea un grupo de personas pequeñas pero suficientemente grandes para incluir a todos los interesados y el público para participar. Si estamos proveyendo, hemos trabajado con el ITA, no solamente podremos participar durante la audiencia pública en este asunto, pero también estamos proveyendo un correo electrónico en la página internet de la ciudad y la habilidad de seguir el proceso por asuntos de la agenda con grabaciones. Entonces, después del abril 1 tenemos una póliza ya adoptada para esto en la ciudad de Los Ángeles, ya que es el 4 de febrero. Así es. Gracias.
February does have 28 days.
Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Gracias, señor presidente. Colegas, quiero felicitar a mi colega Han. Usted me dijo colega Weiss y yo ahora le estoy hablando diciendo colega Han.
I want to agree with one thing you
Estoy de
said very
acuerdo
strongly,
con
which
lo que
is
usted
the
dijo
poor
fuertemente, es que
type of public communication that we saw in
el
terms
tipo de
of communicating
comunicación
this
que
new
es muy,
policy to
muy
the public.
debilitado,
I have
que
gotten
miramos y que se
literally
utilizó para comunicar ese tipo de información al
hundreds
público. Yo he
of
recibido
contacts
cientos y
from
cientos de
constituents
contactos
who
de
believe
la
the new
población que
policy
cree
will
que la
make
nueva
them less
póliza
safe.
hará
that
que
is
ellos se
incorrect.
sientan menos
The
seguros. Esto es
current
incorrecto. La
policy makes you
póliza
unsafe.
actual es lo que lo
Currently in the
hace
city,
inseguro.
on average,
Actualmente en la
45
ciudad,
minutes to
un
1
promedio
hour
de
will
45 minutos a
elapse
una
before
hora
the police
pasará antes de que
respond
la
to an
policía
unverified alarm.
conteste
That's not
una
a
llamada por
policy
una alarma
that
no
makes
verificada. No es
anyone
póliza
safe
que
in their
hace que
homes.
las personas estén
And
seguras
we
en
have a new
sus
police
casas.
chief
Tenemos un nuevo
who
jefe de
all of
policía
us around
que
this
todos nosotros
circle
en
want to
este grupo
succeed,
queremos
who
que
has
tenga
asked for the
éxito, que
latitude
ha
to
pedido
respond
la
only to
libertad de
those
responder
alarms
solamente a las
where we can
alarmas
verify
donde
that
podemos
there's a
verificar
problem,
que hay un
so
problema
we can get
para así
help there
poder
more quickly.
llevar asistencia y ayuda más
And,
rápidamente.
And that's why
Y
I
es por
support the
eso
new
que yo
chief
apoyo
in
un
this
nuevo
policy.
jefe
But I agree
en
with
esta
something
póliza,
else you
pero estoy de
said,
acuerdo con
Ms.
algo
Hahn.
más
You
que
want to
ella
hold the
dijo,
police
señora Hahn.
commission
Usted quiere que
accountable. But we need
la
to hold them
Comisión de Policía
accountable
tenga
for
responsabilidad
not just what they do
solamente
in
por lo
respect
que
to this
hacen en
policy,
cuanto a
but
esta
also
póliza, pero
for
también
dealing with the
por
epidemic of
tratar con
violent
la
crime in this
epidemia
city.
de
We
crimen
need to
violento
hold
en la ciudad.
Chief
Ellos, el
Bratton
jefe
accountable
Bratton
for
tiene que
all that.
tomar responsabilidad
They
por todo
have
esto.
asked
Ellos
for this
han pedido
policy
que
change
este
as a
cambio
key
de policía sea un
element in their
elemento clave
platform to fight
en su
crime in
plataforma
this
de luchar
city.
contra el
Well,
crimen en
let's
nuestra
hold them
ciudad. Bueno, hay
accountable.
también hay que
And
pedirles
let's
que
see
tomen
if
responsabilidad
it gets
y ver a ver
results.
si
I hope it
esto
will.
se resuelva.
And I look
Espero
forward
que
to
así sea.
working with
Espero
you
trabajar
and
con
with the
usted y
task
con
force,
este grupo
to try
para
to
tratar
see if
de ver
this mousetrap can be
si
improved
esta trampa
slightly
puede
in the
ser
future.
mejorada en el
I would
futuro.
like to bring to
Me
your attention,
gustaría
colleagues,
también
then the motion
traerles a
that
su
I have
atención de la
circulated,
moción que he pasado,
13A, with the support of
13A,
my
con el
friend Ms.
apoyo de mi
Miskowski,
amiga,
Mr.
la señora
Garcetti, and
Miskowski, el
Mr.
señor
Zine,
Garcetti y el señor
which
Zine,
would formally
el cual
receive and
formalmente
file
recibirá y
the
archivará
245
la
action, and it would
acción
also ask the
245.
police
También le
commission
pedirá
to
a la Comisión de
consider,
Policía que
and if
considere
appropriate, adopt a
y si es apropiado
modification in
adoptar
their
una
current
modificación en su
policy with
póliza
respect to how
actual
they
tocante
respond to
a
alarms
la manera que
at council
responden
field
a alarmas
offices. He would
en
ask for them to bring
oficinas
that into accord
de la
with
ciudad
the
del
new
Consejo
verified
Municipal.
response
Eso
policy
estará
that they have
en
adopted
acuerdo con la nueva póliza que han adoptado en toda la ciudad y
with the suggestion of Ms.
con la
Gruhl, I
sugerencia de
think
la
it would be
señora
good
Gruhl,
for
creo
them
que sería
to
buena idea
also
que ellos
consider
también
any
consideren
proposed
cualquier
modifications
cambio propuesto
that may occur as a
que
result of
puedan
the
ocurrir
task
como
force
resultado de este
to
grupo de
the verified
personas
response plan
al plan
as
de
they
respuesta
consider and
verificada
hopefully
mientras
adopt
esta sea
a
considerada y
policy,
espero que adopten una
to modify
póliza
how
para
they're
modificar
responding to
la
council
manera
field
que ellos
offices.
responden
So
a las
motion 13A
oficinas
is
de
on
consejos
your
que están en la
desks,
ciudad.
and I ask for its
Moción
approval
13A
as
está en su escritorio y pido una
so
aprobación.
the summation of
Este
this
es un
matter
sumario
before
de
us.
este
Thank you, Mr.
asunto
President.
pendiente. Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Concejala Gruhl.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm assuming, Mr. Weiss, that means you're amending your motion to include that language,
Gracias, señor
that it
Weiss.
would
Usted está
also
cambiando su
be
moción para incluir este verbaje.
modified
También será
relative to the
cambiado
task force
tocante a la recomendación del
recommendations, as
grupo
considered by the police
considerado
commission.
por la Comisión de Policía. Así es.
I stand here today as someone who
Me pongo de
seconded
pie como alguien
Councilmember
que
Janice
apoyó
Hahn's
la
motion,
de la
which
concejala
said
Hahn,
we
la
believe in
cual
the
dijo
public's
que
right to
creemos en el derecho del
participate in
público de
something that
participar en algo que
dramatically affects their
dramáticamente
lives.
afecta
Last
sus
night I
vidas.
was at a
Anoche
meeting of a Valley Glen
estuve
Community
en
Council,
una
and they
reunión
said to
en Valley
me,
Glen
you
y
know,
me
this
dijeron,
is our first
esta es nuestra
meeting
primera
since the
reunión
policy was discussed. Do we still
que
have
habló la
time for
policía, aún
input?
tenemos
We have an opinion.
tiempo para dar
And I
información,
said,
tenemos una
I
opinión y yo
believe
dije,
that my
creo
council
que
colleagues
mis
tomorrow and the
colegas
police commission
mañana
president has
el presidente de
agreed
la
that
Comisión
in
de Policía
fact your
está de acuerdo que por
voice
hecho su
matters.
voz
So
sí
please, yes, discuss
es
that.
importante. Por
Today
favor,
in council, we have
dialoguen
the
con esto hoy.
opportunity
En este
to
Consejo Municipal
restore
tenemos la oportunidad de
faith from our neighborhood councils and our
restaurar
community
fe de
activists
nuestros
that you will have a
activistas
voice in
comunitarios
how
y de Consejo
we
Municipal y de
develop a
consejos de
policy that
comunitarios de
impacts
la manera
each
que
and
uno
every
desarrolla una
one of you.
policía.
It's a new day in
Impactará
Los
con
Angeles.
ustedes
We've
un nuevo
seen
día en
more
Los Ángeles. Hemos visto
discussion about
mucho
neighborhood
diálogo
councils
acerca
and
de
articles in the papers
consejos
about the
comunitarios
role
y
that neighborhood
historias en
councils
el
have
periódico
played
acerca de
in this city.
la parte que
That
estos
is a
grupos
message that it is a new day,
toman
and
la
our
relación. Este es un
commissions
mensaje
are
que este es un nuevo
beginning
día.
to
Nuestras comisiones
understand how
están
important that is.
empezando
So I
a
believe
entender
that,
lo importante de de esta
we have,
participación.
as
Por lo tanto,
Councilmember
creo que
Hahn indicated,
tenemos, como la
have
concejala
a
Hahn ha
commitment
dicho,
from
tenemos
our
un
police commission
compromiso
that they will consider and
de la
act
Comisión de
upon
Policía que
those
considerarán
items that
y
come up from the task
actuarán
force.
sobre los
This,
asuntos que
as
les
though has been a
otorguen
controversial 3
este
weeks,
grupo.
has
Esta ha sido
also been an
una
exciting 3
3
weeks.
semanas muy
We
controversial,
have
también muy
found
emocionantes.
that our
Nos hemos dado cuenta
constituents
que nuestra
have
población
some great ideas.
tiene
The
unas
security
grandes
companies
ideas.
have
Las
some great
compañías de
ideas on
seguridad y
how
alarmas tienen
we can
grandes
implement
ideas
this
acerca de cómo
policy. So
poder
putting the
implementar esta
brakes
política. Por lo
on the
tanto, a
non-response
frenar
policy
en la
and
policía no
allowing a
responsiva y permitir
60-day
60
review
días
and
de
having a task
repaso
force
y tener
that
un
puts
grupo de
our feet to the
personas que
fire. I mean, we are
hace que
serious
tomemos
about 60
estamos
days.
seriamente
It's not
acerca
61
de que esto
days,
se lleve a cabo
62
no
days, it
61
is
días, no
60
62
days.
es de
And we're
60 días y
asking
estamos pidiendo
the security companies
a
to
las compañías de
also
alarma y
begin
seguridad que también
immediately implementing
empiecen
some of the things
inmediatamente
they
a
have
implementar
suggested, where in
ciertas
fact we can
ideas
increase
que han
some
sugerido
of
donde
the
podemos así
income to the city of Los Angeles. If
aumentar
all
el
of the
ingreso a
individuals
los Los Ángeles,
who
todos
owe
los
us
individuos
our
que nos
permit
deben
fees
los
for the
costos del
last several
permiso por los
years,
últimos
if we
años,
asked them
que
and
les
required them to pay,
requerimos
that
que
would be
paguen
potentially an
esto, va
additional
a ser
$5 million
aproximadamente
that I
5
believe
millones de
should go
dólares adicionales que
directly
creo
to
yo
the
que
Los
deben de ser
Angeles
invertidos
Police Department
directamente al
to
Departamento de
pay
Policía de Los
for
Ángeles para
more
pagar por
officers.
más oficiales.
We deserve these
Merecemos
alternatives and
esas alternativas
recommendations.
y
We've looked at
recomendaciones.
franchises.
Hemos
I've had people
considerado
who normally would say, don't increase my fees,
sucursales,
don't
muchas
increase
veces
my
no
taxes, say
aumenten
we're
mis
willing
costos,
to
mis
pay more.
impuestos, estamos
And when
dispuestos
we
a pagar
see
más. Y cuando
statistics that show
vemos estadísticas que
potentially that
muestran
50% of the
potencialmente que
false
un 10%
alarms
de
are
las
10%
falsas
of the
alarmas
companies. Let's look at the
son el
10% of
10%
the
de las compañías.
companies.
Hay que considerar las
Also,
10%
that
de las
many of the
compañías.
false
También muchas de las
alarms
alarmas
occur in the
falsas
first month of
ocurren en el
someone
primer
purchasing an
mes
alarm.
de cuando
We
alguien
need to
compra una
address
alarma.
the root
Debemos
causes of
hablar
these
acerca de
problems.
estos
We need to get that
raíces, estos
input.
problemas,
So
y
I'm
tenemos que recibir
pleased
su
and
opinión de
believe that
estos
today
problemas, creo yo, y me da
we
mucho
are going
gusto
to
que el día
have
de
a
hoy
comprehensive
tendremos
a policy that's going to come out of this
póliza
task force.
entendible
And that
que
many
resultará de
of my
esta
colleagues, and I want to
grupo, y
thank
muchos de mis
particularly
colegas, y quiero dar
Janice
las gracias
Hahn and Dennis
particularmente a la
Zine,
señora
who we have
Hahn y al
been
señor Zine,
talking over the last several days to come to a
juntos hemos dialogado en
compromise
los últimos días para llegar a un
that gives the
compromiso
public
que le da al
confidence
público
that we listen,
confianza, que si les
that we're going
escuchamos,
to take their ideas,
que
we're going to
tomaremos sus
implement those
ideas,
ideas,
implementaremos
and that
estas
they
ideas y
can
que ellos sí
trust
pueden
and invest in
confiar
the
e
future of the city
invertir
of
en el
Los
futuro de la
Angeles,
ciudad de
that
Los
we can do
Ángeles, que
this
sí
together.
podemos hacerlo
So I
juntos.
ask
Por
all
lo
my
tanto, pido a
colleagues
todos mis
to,
colegas,
again, Janice
de
Hahn and I
nuevo,
will be,
Janice
and
Hahn,
probably Dennis the first too, if the recommendations
si las
that come forward are
recomendaciones
not
que se presentan no
considered or adopted
serán
in some form
consideradas
or
o adoptadas de
fashion,
una
I
manera,
will be the first to
yo
stand
seré
up
la
here
primera que me
again
pondré de
and
pie
say
aquí de
the
nuevo y
public
decir
has a
al
right
público que el público
to have
tiene
input
derecho
into that
de
process.
dar
So
su
ask
opinión a
that
este
would
proceso.
support
Por eso pido su
Councilmember
apoyo
Weiss's motion with, again, the
a la moción
amendment
del
that
concejal
indicates
Weiss, junto
they
con
will
el
have
cambio que
a
indicará que
response that
tendrán una
includes the
respuesta que
recommendations
incluirá las
from the task
recomendaciones
force.
de este grupo de personas.
Mr. Brunson.
Yes, I've heard a lot of comments about the commission. I've heard a lot of comments about the community councils. I haven't heard anybody comment about whether we should vote to veto the thing if we could get 10 votes today, which I don't know if we can. Let me just say this. Mr. Weiss mentioned the fact that we're going to hold the chief accountable, we're going to hold the commission accountable. Let me tell you, our constituents out there hold us accountable. And they're not looking at the chief or the commission. They look at the people they elected, like us, to take care of this. And I wish I was as confident as all of you that this is going to get solved by this task force in 60 days. I hope, obviously, that it will, but I think that we're going to have to find some other means of dealing with this problem. The department is not at fault. Obviously, it's difficult to deal with 90% false alarms. It's difficult to deal when you don't have enough officers to follow up on regular crime calls. And Dennis knows exactly what I'm talking about. We have got to, number one, as a council, I'm not going to be here, but you will, you've got to find a way to put more officers on the street. That's going to be your responsibility. You've also got to find a way to make the alarm companies responsible. And you've got to make people who use special alarms, because let's face it, that's a privilege for those that can afford it. Not everybody in the city can afford to have an alarm service, but the ones that can are going to have to pay for the cost of it. It's a fee related to the actual expense. I would suggest off the bat, right off the top of my head, to the task force that any response, whether it's a false alarm or not a false alarm, costs $100 right off the bat. Every response. I'm willing to pay for it. I think everybody who has an alarm service, whether they're a business or a resident, should be responsible for doing that. And until the city has enough police officers, one of the things you may want to consider is to, if you're going to have a verified response by the police, is to contract to the private sector alarm services that have armed response, maybe some that won't, so that they can actually respond to the alarm and then immediately notify the police in a verified situation. One of these things has to happen. All three of these things really have to happen. So for those of you that are going to sit on this task force, please consider my thoughts. I'm still going to vote to override the commission today because I don't have complete trust in the system, although I do believe that they have good intentions, and I believe that they mean that they hope to find a way. But until they do, I think we all ought to be looking very carefully at what comes back in 60 days. And hopefully there'll be some plans, and they're not just going to be short-term. This is not going to get solved overnight. You're going to have some kind of a phased process of dealing with this. And under no circumstances can people who are going to burglarize homes and businesses in this city have any thought that there's not going to be a response by our law enforcement in Los Angeles. That cannot happen.
Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council
Muchas
President.
gracias.
We've heard over and
Hemos
over again
escuchado vez
that
tras
this
vez
city is
que esta
infamous
ciudad es
for being one of the
famosa
highest
por ser
crime
una de
cities in the
las
country.
ciudades con la tasa de crimen más elevada.
And there's a real
Y hay
formula that we
una
work
fórmula
with
real
that speaks
que
to
utilizamos
calls for
que
service that equates to deployment,
necesita
meaning
llamadas
this
para
determines
recibir
how
servicio. Esto
we use our
decide cómo
resources
utilizamos nuestros
and how we deal with
recursos y
violent
cómo
crimes and high
tratamos
crimes
con
for the whole
crímenes
city.
violentos
And in every
y elevados.
district, you
Entonces,
have
en
this
cada distrito
dynamic
tiene
where
este
certain areas,
dinámico donde en ciertas
certain neighborhoods
áreas,
can
ciertas
afford alarms and others
vecindades
cannot.
pueden pagar por
So
alarmas,
this is
otras no.
not
Por
an
lo tanto,
us
este no
versus
es
them issue. This
un
is
asunto de
about
nosotros
one
contra ellos,
city.
esto se trata de
This is
cerca de una
about
ciudad.
creation of an environment
Se trata de
that allows
crear un
us
ambiente que
to
nos
enhance,
permite mejorar
improve our image,
nuestra
because
imagen,
we are a safer
porque
city and we have to
somos
lower
una ciudad más
our
segura y tenemos
crime
que
rate.
disminuir la
We
tasa
have to
de
lower our
crimen, tenemos que
levels of
disminuir nuestros
violent
niveles de
crimes.
crímenes violentos.
That is what leads
Esto es lo
towards
que
confidence building.
hace
That's
que
what leads towards investment and improvement of our
personas
quality of
inviertan,
life.
mejoramiento
And
de
that's
nuestra
what
calidad de
leads
vida
to
y
an
también
enhanced
confianza. Y esto es lo
tax
que
base
ayuda
to hire more
mejorar
police. So the
los
issue
impuestos
of
para
greater
contratar más policía,
participation
para el
by
asunto de
communities
participación más elevada de las
is very
comunidades es muy
significant, and it's paramount
importante y
to
es sumamente
how we
importante
deal with
poder
policy
tratar con
development.
desarrollo
And
de
that I
póliza
strongly
y
support.
esto apoyo
But
yo
it's just as
seriamente,
important
pero es
that
también
we
sumamente
do everything in our
importante
power
poder hacer
as
todo
a
lo que está en nuestro
council,
poder como
working with
Consejo
the
Municipal,
mayor,
trabajando con el
working with the
alcalde,
commission,
trabajando con la comisión
to allocate
para
our resources
alocar
so that
nuestros
we
recursos
can
para así
lower the
poder
levels of crime
disminuir la
in areas
tasa
where they
de
are
crimen en
occurring.
áreas donde esto están ocurriendo.
I support the commission's
Yo apoyo
action
la
and I
acción de
support the
la
task
comisión y
force.
también al
But just as important,
trabajo del
when I
grupo de
met
personas,
with
pero
Chief
sumamente
Bratton,
importante cuando me
we
reuní
talked about
con el
how we
jefe
deal with
Bratton,
the
hablamos
issue
acerca de
of
cómo tratar con el
deployment.
asunto de
How are we using our
despachar estas
resources?
patrullas, cómo
And
está
he's
utilizando
taking
estos
a
recursos, él está
proactive approach
tomando una
to lower those crime
manera proactiva de
statistics,
disminuir esas
to lower
estadísticas de
those
crimen,
most
de
vulnerable
disminuir
people who do not have alarms, who have to live in fear
la seguridad,
because they
la
cannot
falta de
afford
seguridad de las
it,
personas más
because they are
pobres
not in
que
position
viven en
to
temor y que no pueden
allow
comprar
those
una
kinds of
alarma.
resources for a payment of an alarm. So let's look at this
Hay
as
que
one
considerar
city.
esto como una
Let's
ciudad.
lower those violent
Hay que
crimes.
disminuir la tasa
And
de
let's
crímenes
support the
violentos, hay que
chief so that we
apoyar
can
al jefe para
address those
así
quality of life
poder
issues, so
tratar
we can
con la
enhance
calidad de
our tax
vida y
base
así
and
mejorar
enhance our ability to
nuestra
hire more
base de
police.
impuestos y así mejorar nuestra habilidad de contratar a más oficiales.
Thank you, Mr. President. I
Gracias,
think
señor
most things
presidente.
have been
Primero
said
que
and said
se ha dicho
eloquently,
casi
so I
todo
just
de
wanted
una
to add
manera muy
my thanks
elocuentemente.
because
Quiero dar las gracias.
I've
Entonces,
talked very extensively
yo he
with two
hablado
police commissioners
largamente
and
con
with
los
the police chief,
comisionados de
and
policía, con el jefe de
I'm glad that
policía, y
they
me da
have
mucho gusto
committed
que
in
ellos se
those
han
60 days, and I
comprometido
would
para
really
esos 60 días.
impress upon the task force not to
Y yo
wait
también
to
decirle al
finish their
grupo que
work in
no
60 days, or
terminen
else there's going to be no time
acabar
to
su
act on it.
trabajo
I
en
think it
60
would be
días porque
appropriate to
no
think about
tenemos
a
tiempo de actuar.
45-day
Creo que sea
deadline,
adecuado pensar
to
en
use that
una
as a
fecha límite de
working
45
number.
días
And then
y ya
once those
después
task force
cuando
recommendations
esas
are made
recomendaciones se
public,
presenten
I think we
al
should, as
público,
council
creo que
members,
nosotros
those
como
of us who
miembros
have
del
followed this
Consejo
closely, take it directly
debemos de
and present it to the police
considerar
commission. I
directamente
think
presentarlo a la
that way
Comisión
we
de
can
la
ensure in a
Policía para
public
así poder
setting
asegurar una
that this
balanza
won't
pública que
escape
esto no
anybody's notice. And
escapará
I do take the police
a la
commission at
vista de
their
nada,
word.
y por lo
Again,
tanto
as I
yo sí
said
confío
before,
en la palabra de la
they wouldn't be
Comisión de
the
la
police
Policía.
commission or
No
the
sería la
police chief
Comisión de
if they
Policía o
didn't
el
know more
jefe de
than us,
policía no
but
supieran más que
knowing more
nosotros, pero
doesn't mean you
sabiendo
know
más no quiere
everything. And I
decir que
think with the
sabe, lo
public's
sabe todo.
input
Por lo tanto,
and
con la
their input together, we
opinión del
will have a
público
policy that will
y
work for
junto de la
everybody.
Comisión de la
But I
Policía,
would really
tenemos
impress
un
upon
grupo de
them to do their
personas
work
que
even
harán lo
sooner than
mejor, pero
60
les pido
days, or
que hagan
else
su
we're going to
trabajo
hit
más
that
rápidamente,
deadline with
si
no
no
time
llegaremos a esa
to
fecha
actually
límite
implement.
sin tiempo adicional para implementarlo.
Mr. President,
Señor
members,
presidente, miembros,
after the adoption of the
después de la
last
adopción
charter
del último
approval, we
aprobación
talked
del
about
mandato,
strong mayor,
hablaron acerca de un alcalde
weak
fuerte
council. But I
Consejo
can tell you
Municipal
about something that's much
débil,
worse than
pero
that.
que si se acerca a algo que es mucho más
Commissioner,
peor, comisionado
weaker council.
más fuerte, Consejo
you
Municipal
think
más
that
débil. Si
you're
ustedes
gonna get
piensan que
more
ustedes van a
deployment,
recibir más
This gimmick,
envíos de
you got another thought coming.
patrullas bajo
I mean, I'm going to
este
sell somebody the Brooklyn Bridge that's been
proceso,
sold over and over and over
quiero que
again.
despierten la realidad.
Mr. Bernstein's already
Señor
said this is
Bernstein ha dicho esto
outrageous.
es increíble.
In your face.
En su propia cara.
We're not going to change
No
our
vamos a cambiar
policy
nuestra póliza
or our
ni
vote.
nuestro voto.
We are going to move ahead on
Vamos a
it.
proceder
It is the council, if the council should
Si el
overturn the
Consejo
policy and
anula
send
esta
it back to
policía y
the
lo
commission,
reenvía a la
we will
comisión,
send it back
lo
to them.
reenviaremos, se lo reenviaremos a ellos.
Power drunk,
Ebrios por poder,
abuse of power.
poder
One
abusivo.
commissioner.
Un
You guys are
comisionado.
signing off your,
Ustedes están firmando
that the
su
people gave
poder
you.
que les otorgó el
he says in this letter,
pueblo. Dice en esta
pursuant to your
carta, de
request, I'm
acuerdo a su
writing to assure you
petición,
that
le
the
estoy
Board of
escribiendo para asegurar que la Junta
Commissioners will
Directiva de
seriously consider
Comisionados
the City
seriamente
Council Task
considerado
Force
un
recommendation
grupo de la
relative
Comisión
to
de un grupo
our
considerado por
verified
la
alarm policy
Consejo
if
Municipal.
submitted within 60 days, in a
Se
60-day
realizará si
period,
es que
which
estas
we have previously
recomendaciones
agreed to
presentadas
delay
en
the
60 días.
implementation. And
Por lo
Deaton
tanto,
sat
estamos de
there and said,
acuerdo en
he's going to decide when they're going to
esta
start the
implementación.
60
Él
days.
dice Deaton que
He
empezará cuando
has
empezará
no
las 60 días.
influence to
No
decide
tiene
anything
influencia para
as
decidir
compared to
nada
what Mr. Caruso
comparado a
said
lo
he's
que
going
el
to
señor
do.
Caruso dijo que hará.
Even though he represents all
Aunque
16 of you,
representa a
and
todos
Mr.
los
Rick
16,
Caruso
el señor
didn't
Rick
sign
Caruso
it.
no lo firmó.
Some guy named Jay for
Alguien
Rick
llamado
Caruso, he
Jay
didn't
lo
sign
firmó
this
para Rick
garbage.
Caruso. Él no firmó esta basura.
And how many times did we have a
¿Cuántas
false
veces
alarm
tuvimos
over
una
at the
alarma
Grove?
falsa en el Grove?
We got a police substation there.
Tenemos una
They're protected
subestación de
at all
policía.
times. But our poor citizens who are
Pero para
elected
ser
each
más
and every
pobres
one
que
of
eligieron a
you
cada uno de ustedes,
to look out for them or
que
not. Talking
los
about
cuiden a ellos
deployment,
sí o no, hablando acerca
what
de
do you mean
despacho de
deployment?
patrullas,
Go look
despacho
for
de
the
patrullas,
murderers. What are they doing?
busquen a los
They have a program to
asesinos,
arrest the
tienen un programa
homeless,
para arrestar a las personas
the
indigentes
vagrants, so to speak, who can't speak or
que
fight
no
for
pueden
themselves,
hablar
and
ni
that's
pueden
what
luchar
your
por sí
job
mismos y
is.
eso es su trabajo,
To speak out on their behalf,
de
to
hablar,
provide
dar
programs
voz de parte
where
de
they
ellos
can
de proveer
recover
programas
from
para
the
su
problems that they
recuperación de los
have.
problemas que ellos tengan.
Goodness, yes. Weak,
Sin valor, sí.
no, weaker.
Débil, no. Más
I've
débil.
never seen anything like this in
Nunca he
my
visto
life. You
algo
might
así en
not
mi
like
vida.
me for
Quizás
the
no
next
me
5 months I'm going to be here. But that's all right.
quieran por los siguientes 5 meses
The
que esté aquí,
truth
pero eso está bien, la verdad.
should stand
Debe
forever.
de
The fact of the
mantener
matter, you
parado para siempre el hecho de
acquiesce.
que
You've surrendered
ustedes han vencido,
your power,
han vencido su
and you
poder
won't get it
y no
back inch by inch,
lograrán
hour,
ese
day
poder,
by
ese
day.
poder pulgada por pulgada, hora por hora, día tras día.
It is wrong.
Esto es
Call it
equivocado.
what you will, and you're
Llame lo que
justified by
quiere
using
y
any
es
excuse that you
justificado
want
utilizar
to
cualquier excusa que desee.
take this inappropriate
De
action,
tomar esta acción
which
no
does not serve
adecuada,
the people.
el cual no
Right.
da
I
servicio
got more
correctamente a
telephone
las
calls and,
personas.
and more letters.
He
When
recibido
I was a
más
senator, I got a lot under
cartas y
death
más
penalty.
llamadas.
But I got
Como
more calls and
senador,
more emails and more
tuve
messages
muchísimos
on
mensajes y
this.
correo electrónico sobre este.
And you have
Y
also.
ustedes también.
And you're running and you're hiding.
Y ustedes están corriendo y se
And
están
making all kinds
escondiendo.
of excuses. I'm
Y
supporting
haciendo
this guy, and
muchas
I'm
excusas.
supporting
Yo
that
estoy
guy.
apoyando a este
Milquetoast
muchacho.
controversies.
Señora Han.
Chair recognizes Ms. Han.
Amen.
Amén.
Thank you, Councilman Holden. I mean, you're right. You're
Ese
absolutely
consejo
right,
no
which is
está en lo
why I
correcto,
brought
es de lo correcto, es por
this
eso que
issue to the
presenté
council in
este
the first
asunto al
place,
Consejo
because
Municipal,
my colleague
porque como
Halverson
mi
said, we're
colega
the ones
Alberto
that are
dijo, somos los que
accountable to the
tenemos que
people,
tomar responsabilidad al
not Rick
pueblo,
Caruso, not the police
no
commission.
el
The
señor Caruso, la
unfortunate
policía, la
thing,
comisión. Lo desafortunado es
is you and
que usted y
I
yo
cannot convince the
podemos
rest of our
convencer al
colleagues
resto de nuestros
to
colegas
do this. And
que
as I
hagan
take
esto.
my
Como
count right now,
cuento
we
ahorita,
maybe have
quizás
6 council
tengamos
members
6
who would
concejales que
agree to veto
están de
it. And
acuerdo de anular
unfortunately,
esto. Y
the
desafortunadamente,
papers would report
el
it
periódico
tomorrow as
reportará
saying
mañana diciendo que
we upheld
nosotros
the commission's policy
aprobamos la
because we were
póliza
unable to
de
veto it. And
como
frankly, I don't
pudimos
really even
anularlo y
want
francamente
to
no
give them that
siquiera quiero
satisfaction
darles esta
that we as a
satisfacción
council
que nosotros como
have
Consejo
upheld the
Municipal
policy.
hemos aprobado la
Which is
póliza, por lo
why
tanto es
I am
el por qué
saying
yo
that
estoy diciendo que
I want this task
yo quiero
force
que este grupo
to
de
convene.
personas
I want this
se
task force
organice,
to report back
que nos dé un
to my
reporte
committee and to
a mi comité
Cindy's Public
y
Safety
al
Committee.
Comité de
I
Cindy
want
de
this
Seguridad
task
Pública.
force
Quiero
to
que este grupo
hold the hearings
lleve a cabo las
that the police
audiencias que
commission
la
did
Comisión de
not
Policía
do.
no hizo.
Frankly, the police commission
Francamente, la
failed
Comisión de
in its
Policía
job
falló en su
to
trabajo
hold hearings,
de llevar a cabo
to notify
audiencias,
the
en
public, to
avisarle al
have
público
input on this policy.
para tener
And where
opinión
they
sobre esta
have
póliza.
failed,
Donde
I
ellos han
believe we
fallado,
have
creo yo que
stepped
nosotros
in,
hemos
as it is our duty, and forced the process to happen. happen. While it is
tomar
not in any way
posición para que
perfect,
este
I believe
proceso
it's
se lleve a cabo.
better
No es perfecto,
than
pero
what
es
we had
mejor de
before.
lo que
And I'll
teníamos
just take this
previamente. Y
opportunity to
quiero
say
tomar
I
esta
still
oportunidad de decir
object,
que yo aún me opongo
colleague-wise,
colega,
I object to
me
you
opongo, colega Weiss, me
saying who
opongo a que
feels safe and who doesn't feel
quién se
safe,
siente
because
seguro
I'm
y quién se
looking
siente seguro,
at
porque yo
some
estoy
of my
mirando
seniors
ciertos de mis
who are here from Watts,
mayores de edad que
and
están
frankly,
aquí
they
de
do not
Watts y
feel
francamente
safe.
ellos no se
And
sienten
I think if
seguros.
there's
Y creo
one
yo que
message
si
to
hay
the
un
chief or
mensaje
the
al
police
jefe o a la
commission
comisión de
is while we
policía
talk
es,
about
mientras
violent
hablamos
crime, while we
sobre
talk
crimen
about
violento,
gangs, still
sobre
people
pandillas,
have the
aún
most
personas
fear in their
tienen
own homes.
más
They
temor
are
en su propia
afraid
casa,
when they go in
temen
their
cuando
homes,
entran
and
a
that
sus
is why
casas
they
y es por
purchase
esto
alarms
que
in the first
compran
place. And we
alarmas.
can never forget,
Nunca
and
podemos
those are the
olvidar
people who
esto
do
y estas son las
not feel
personas que no
safe
se
by
sienten
this
seguras por
so-called
este
new
llamado
verified policy.
nueva
And
póliza
that's what I'm
verificada y
hoping
eso es lo que
the
estoy
police commission
esperando
will
que la comisión de
still
policía aún
look at some of the
considere
recommendations
ciertas
that come from this
recomendaciones
task
que
force.
se otorguen
And the
y
other thing I
resulten por
must
este
take the
grupo. También
opportunity to
quiero
say, it has been an
decirles que ha
unpleasant
sido una
experience to
experiencia no
work with the
placentera
police
trabajar con la
commission.
comisión de
I was
policía.
appalled, really,
Yo estuve
frankly, as a
sorprendida
council member.
seriamente,
And I can imagine what the
francamente,
general
como concejal,
public
y yo me
feels.
imagino lo que siente
This
el público
commission
general. Esta
specifically
comisión
refused to take
específicamente
my phone
rehúsa
calls. This
regresar mi
commission
llamada a esta
gave orders to
comisión
not
de
give my
órdenes de
office
no dar a mi
information
oficina
about
información
false alarms,
sobre
even my own field
alarmas
offices. And I think if we're going
falsas
to move
también
forward as a
en mis
city, if we're
oficinas en
going
la
to move
ciudad.
forward
Si
to
vamos a
really
proceder
work
como una ciudad
together
para
with the police
trabajar
department,
juntos
to
con la
work
parte de la
together
policía,
with the chief,
trabajar con el
for
jefe de
all the
policía,
community to be
para que
involved
toda
in
la comunidad esté
solving
involucrada para
crimes.
resolver
We
el
can't
crimen.
have
No
this kind of
podemos tener este
attitude. We
tipo de
cannot have this
actitud, no
kind of
podemos tener este
arrogance
tipo de
from a
arrogancia
citizens
de
commission.
una comisión de
If they're
ciudadanos.
treating
Si
me
me
like
están
that, I can
tratando
only
así a
imagine
mí,
how they're treating
son lo
the
mismo
general
como
public.
están
Come on.
tratando al público general.
We've
Por
all got to work
favor,
together.
todos tenemos
I
que
don't want to be
trabajar juntos.
quibbling
Yo no
over
puedo
what day the 60
luchar
days
acerca de
started.
cuándo va
Come
a
on.
empezar a los 60 días. Por favor, hemos votado para que el público tenga opinión sobre esta póliza. Esperamos que esto ocurra, aunque si es el día 60 estas recomendaciones no llegaron a la comisión de policía. Yo espero que ellos escuchen a la información y la opinión de las personas que temen, que tienen alarmas, nuestros mayores de edad, las mujeres que no están contentos con esta póliza actualmente. Vamos a trabajar juntos para resolver, para solucionar el crimen de la ciudad. Vamos a pararnos hombro a hombro con nuestros oficiales de rango o no. Hay muchas quizás pensemos que ellos saben más que nosotros. Francamente, pienso yo que mis mujeres saben más que otras personas en cuanto a lo que significa crimen o no crimen en esta ciudad. Señora Han, por lo tanto, solo estoy pidiendo, no estoy contenta, estoy de acuerdo con usted, concejal Holden, pero en este momento no hemos podido convencer a otros colegas que manden este mensaje, pero creo que tener paz, trabajar juntos y parar esta arrogancia que está saliendo de esta comisión de ciudadanos, de trabajar con los ciudadanos, con el jefe de policía, con nosotros y con los ciudadanos que están ahí al frente para luchar con crimen. No hay que jugar con palabras, no hay que jugar juegos. Considerando seriamente esto, hay que ser honestos y hay que considerar la opinión y esta póliza final reflejará la opinión de este grupo.
Councilmember Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I hate to rehash this over and over and over.
Gracias.
When the commission came
Cuando la
up with the
comisión
policy,
presentó esta
we
póliza,
asked
nosotros
60 days
le
for a stay.
pedimos 60
They
días
granted that 60
suspensión.
days.
Nos
I had a
tocaron 60
personal
días. Yo tuve una
conversation with a
conversación
commissioner
personal con
and his
un
residents.
comisionado
Can
en
you get this
su
done for us?
residencia.
They
¿Puede
did that.
lograr esto? Y lo
Then
hicieron.
we asked, we want to
Después
have
pedimos
citizen
que
input. We
queremos
want to establish a
recibir
task force. They
opinión de la
agreed to
ciudad
doing
y
that. And the concern
organizar un
is,
grupo de personas y
we
estuvieron de
can
acuerdo. Y lo que
nitpick
nos
this thing to
preocupa es que
death, or we
podemos
can
detallar
say,
esto y hablar de esto
you've agreed to the
hasta
60
al
days
final,
stay.
pero podemos decir,
The day
ustedes están de
starts
acuerdo con
today.
60
And I
días de
heard it
suspensión. El
directly
día
from the
empieza
commission
hoy.
president,
Lo escuché directamente del
who I
presidente de la
discussed this
comisión,
with during the
con quien yo hablé
debate.
con esto durante
He
este
says
debate.
it
Él
starts
dijo
today.
que
So there's no
empieza el día,
quibbling
por lo
on when the
tanto,
day
no
starts.
hay
Today is the first day of
debate
the
en cuando
60 days.
empieza esta fecha. Hoy
His
es el
concern
primero de
is
los 60
that we
días. Lo
get
que
this
preocupa es que
resolved and we don't drag
resolvamos
this on
esto y no
forever.
demoremos esto para
We
siempre.
have to have some
Tenemos que
trust in
tener
our
cierta confianza en nuestros
commissioners that we
comisionados que
confirm to those
nosotros
positions. The
nombramos a
police commission is a very important commission.
la comisión de policía es una comisión muy importante.
Unlike Councilor Han, I've received cooperation from the
No
police commission, the members, and also the
no como ha
staff.
dicho la
We have
señora
the
Han, yo
Lieutenant
sí recibo
Deborah
mucha
Kirk here from the police
cooperación de la
commission, who's a
comisión.
liaison.
Tenemos aquí al
I've received
representante de la
cooperation.
comisión,
When I
pero yo
ask
recibo
questions,
cooperación cuando
I
yo hago
receive
preguntas, yo
cooperation
recibo
from Joe Gunn,
cooperación
the
de Joe
executive director
Gunn,
of the
el
police
director
commission.
ejecutivo de la comisión
So,
de policía.
I
Por lo
don't know
tanto,
how
yo no
that
sé
part
cómo
plays
es
out,
que esta
except I do know
qué parte
that
toma esto,
everything
pero
we
yo sé
asked
que
for,
todo
we were
lo que
working
hemos
together on this.
pedido y hemos
They
estado
have
trabajando juntos
did.
junto con esto,
And
todo
I
lo que hemos
don't think
pedido
they're
no se
going
va
to
a
turn a
no creo
blind
yo que
eye
ellos
and
van
say, we're just
a
going to
cerrar
go
los
along our
ojos
alley way.
y
What I
decir
want to
vamos
address
a
is the
proceder como tal,
industry
con lo que
that
quiero
went
decir
out
es que
and
la
hired
industria,
a
la industria que
consultant
fue
and spent a
y
lot of money
contrató a
to
un
make this
asesor y gastó
happen.
mucho dinero
And
para
now
que esto
we're here
ocurriera.
to say,
Estamos aquí
let's
para
resolve
decir hay
it.
que resolverlo.
So I say, put it to
Entonces digo yo,
rest,
ya
get the 60
hay
days,
que empezar con los
have the
60 días,
recommendations.
reciban la
We can be a
recomendación,
part of
podemos
that. We
tomar
can
parte de
push
esto,
it forward
podemos
as council
seguir
members.
adelante como
We can have it pushed
concejales,
forward by the
podemos
neighborhood councils.
hacer que
We
los
can have everyone
consejos de
included
la
at the
comunidad
table.
también
The day starts
y que
today.
todos
We have 60
dialoguen
days
en
to
la
have it
mesa.
done.
El día empieza,
And I
tenemos 60
pledge
días
to work
para
with you, Janice,
resolver
the
esto.
commission,
Yo
to
me
make this
comprometo a trabajar con
happen.
usted,
And the
Janice,
industry
y con
needs
la
to be a part
comisión
of
y la
that
industria también
since
tiene que
they're
tomar
part of
parte
the
de que ellos son
solution.
parte de la
And I
solución.
now,
Y ahora yo,
if it's appropriate,
si es adecuado,
call the question.
pido terminar el diálogo en esta pregunta.
Mr. Labange.
Yeah, Mr. President, Madam Clerk, Maria, 60 days from now
60
is
días de
what?
ahora es, ¿qué fecha?
April 15th.
15 de
April
abril.
15th, and the budget comes out
El
when?
presupuesto se iniciará
When's the
cuando?
budget release?
I believe April 20th.
El 20
So
de
the
abril.
police department
Pues el
will be
departamento de
here,
policía
the police
estará aquí,
commission will be
la comisión de
here,
policía
the
estará
chief of
aquí,
police will
el
be
jefe de
here.
policía estará
It's
aquí
almost
también.
in a direct lateral
Entonces,
movement that everybody's going to be
movimiento
here. And I
directo,
don't
todos
like it
estarán aquí. Y yo
when
no
anyone, the one
me
word I don't
parece,
like about
lo que me
government is honest
parece una
arrogance. And
palabra
I don't like
de
when
gobierno
you
es arrogancia.
say
Y no me
that you
gusta cuando
feel
se dice que
that
usted siente
because I have
esto porque yo
cooperation, Mr.
tengo
Zionsberg has
cooperación, señor
cooperation,
Zweig,
and
tiene
that should not be
cooperación
of
de
any
eso debe
commission.
ser es
But I
resultado
believe when
del
this
nivel de la
comes
comisión, pero
back
creo que cuando
together
este
in the time,
regrese
counting whatever days, is it
esta
60 days
sala
working
en 60
days,
días,
or is
60
it 60
días
calendar days?
hábiles
It's
o
60 working, that's
60
including
días
the council
hábiles,
meetings.
60
incluyendo
working days, so this
60
will match
días
the
hábiles.
budget.
Esto
So
entonces
when they come here, we have this all right in
cooperará
front
con
of
el
us at that
presupuesto.
time.
Tenemos todo esto
That's why I
enfrente aquí.
support the
Nosotros
work
por
of the
eso que
task
apoyo
force, so that we
el
do have
trabajo
a
de
better
este grupo
opportunity
para que
to
tenga mejor
serve the people
oportunidad
of
de
Los Angeles.
darse nuestro servicio al
Go
pueblo
for
de
it.
Los
Thank you.
Ángeles. Adelante.
Pacheco.
I'd like to move the previous question.
Okay.
Me
We
gustaría
have
enviar este
a motion to move the previous question. Madam Clerk,
actuario,
please
moción.
open the roll on the
Reza
previous
voto
question.
en la pregunta previa.
Please close the roll
Cierre ese voto.
and tabulate the
Recuenta el
vote.
voto.
10 ayes, 2
10 sí,
noes.
2
Okay,
nos.
we have two members on the queue wishing to speak for a second time. Mr. Reyes passes. Mr.
Señor
Holden.
Reyes, señor Holden.
Mr. President, members, comments have been made about deployment. And once again, that you will be required to bite the bullet and do what's right. If you want more police officers in your district, change the compressed work schedule. Give the chief the authority to allocate police personnel where they're needed and when they're needed without any restrictions or limitations. You know that working 3 days a week will not give you the same coverage to fight crime and apprehend the killers as 4 days a week or 5 days a week. Nobody has to explain that to you. If your argument is we're going to vote to support the police commission position on false alarm, then your argument ought to be strongly supporting the adjustments in the work schedule. Once again, I said, do you have the courage to do that? I think a 4-day work plan is better than a 3-day work plan. I don't know anybody in this city, taxpayers, if you will, work 3 days a week and get paid for 5. But the police department does, and that's what you came up with. I voted no. I say to you that Mr. Labange, Mrs. Hahn said they were arrogant the way they treated her. And you said that you don't like to hear that said about anybody. But I would say to you that if you read the article in LA Times, January 1929, Wednesday, it is arrogant to say when he says, notwithstanding what the council does, I'm not going to even listen to them. That's arrogant. Now, you can close your eyes to the facts if you will, but that's what you have to deal with. We are making the wrong move today. I don't know what else I can say, and so I'm going to just sit down now because it's all falling on deaf ears. And what I'm going to do is take the privilege to introduce some people from the Crenshaw Planning Committee and acknowledge their presence for here to support the Crenshaw Corridor Specific Plan and all the input that they provided before Mr. Reyes' committee, Mr. Burnson, and others. So will you stand and be recognized, please? Give them a big hand. These are concerned citizens. They own businesses in the area, and after today's vote, they're going to be scared to death. It's just awful.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. That concludes the speaker queue. Madam Clerk, matter before us, please.
The motion before you is Councilmember Weiss's
La
motion
moción del
13A, which is to receive and
Weiss 13A de recibir y
file.
archivar
The
la
motion introduced
moción
and further to request
presentada,
the
además
Police Commission to
pedir que la
consider and if
Comisión
deemed
Policial
appropriate adopt a
considere
policy
y
of
si se puede
verified
adoptar una
response for
policía de
city
respuesta
council
verificada
offices.
para las
What about
oficinas
the
de
motion that was before us
consejos y la
before, which
moción
was
pendiente y
to
es de
overturn the account? Do we have,
Mr.
does this
Bernson.
take precedent?
Señor
Mr.
Bernson,
Bernson, if you allow our clerk to finish, we'll guide us
permita
through the series
terminar
of
la
motions
actuaria. Hay
before us.
varias mociones
The first
pendientes. La
motion for
primera
consideration
moción para
is 13A,
consideración
which
es
was introduced
13A.
today. The
Con
other
lo
two
presentado, los
are
otros dos
properly
son
before us as agendas,
adecuadamente
but this one
pendientes
takes
bajo la agenda, pero esto
Well,
toma
would the
prioridad.
clerk clearly state each one as they come up, please, and what the effect is?
Puede
Okay. The
claramente
first one before
mencionar
us is the one
todas estas.
the clerk just described. It's item
La actuaria, por
13A.
favor.
Okay,
Once again from Mr.
it's
Bernson.
13A, which is
13A,
presented by
presentado
Councilmember
por el
Weiss, seconded by
concejal
Ms.
Weiss.
Garcetti and Zine. And that's to receive and file
Es de recibir y
the 245 action
la
and
acción
to request the
245 y de
Police Commission to
pedir a la
consider
Comisión de
and
Policía
if deemed
considere
appropriate
si
to
es
adopt
adecuado
a copy,
adopte
a
una
policy of
copia, una
verified
policía de
response for
respuesta
all Los Angeles
verificada
City
para
Council field
todas
offices
las
and
oficinas
any other
del
appropriate city government
consejos
facilities with
de
any
los
modifications
concejales
deemed necessary due to
en la ciudad.
relevant security concerns. And also there was
También,
Councilmember Weiss
concejal
amended that
Weiss
further
cambió
to
esto
include
para
to
incluir
request the Police
y
Commission
pedir
to
que la
include
Comisión de
task
Policía
force
incluya
recommendations.
recomendaciones del grupo.
Okay.
No, it doesn't, but the
Well,
action
Mr.
last
Stein,
week.
it doesn't
Señor
say
Stein, no
60
dice 60
days.
días la
The action
acción
that the council approved
que
last
el
week
Consejo aprobó la
defines
semana
60
pasada.
days, and we're all in agreement that the
Indica
60
los
days
días, todos
starts
estamos de
today, so
acuerdo que los
that
días empieza el día de hoy, por lo
should be
tanto,
done.
esto será.
Is everybody clear on what we're voting on
Todos
right now?
están
If there are no
claro
questions, I'm about to open the roll.
el voto el día de hoy. Si no hay preguntas, hablaré el voto. Háblale
Madam
lista.
Clerk, please open the
Actora,
roll.
ábrase
Point
lista.
of order.
Okay, Mr. Holden, is you
My
have
point is that in this
Mi
motion,
punto es que en esta moción
13A,
13A
are you saying that every
estás
council
diciendo que
field
cada
office got to be verified before the
oficina de
police show up?
concilio
No, Mr.
de la
Holden,
ciudad tiene que ser
Mr.
aplicada antes de
Holden,
que la policía
if
llegue.
you
El señor
read the
Holden sí
motion correctly,
lee la moción
it asks that,
correctamente.
and let me repeat the clerk for the third time,
Yeah.
that the city
Pide esto,
council
que el
request the
Consejo
police
Municipal
commission to
pida a la Comisión de
consider,
Policía que considere
and if deemed
y si es
appropriate,
adecuado,
adopt a policy
adopte
of
una
verified
policía
response
de
for city
respuesta
council
verificada para las
offices.
oficinas del
To consider.
Consejo de Concilio, que
Okay.
considere.
Any other questions? Ms. Hahn?
Otra
And
pregunta,
this is
señora
also
Hahn.
the receive and file.
Sí, recibir y archivar.
I
Es
would
así.
ask that we separate
Pido
those two.
separar
And so
estas
the
dos
council can vote on receive and
para que si
file
el
and
Consejo
also then
vote para
vote
recibir
on
y
whether or
después
not
votar
the
sí
police
o
commission
no.
should
La
consider that
la
our
Comisión
field
de Policía
offices should
considera
also
si
be a part of this
nuestras
verified
oficinas
response.
en la
Mr.
ciudad
Weiss is the author of the motion.
sea parte de esta respuesta verificada.
Let's take the verified
Bien,
response.
primero hablaremos
first,
acerca de la respuesta
then we'll vote on
verificada.
receive and
Antes
file
pues
second.
recibiremos
So the first
sobre
vote we're
recibir
gonna
archivar,
take
pero el
is on
voto que
whether or not
tomaremos es de sí o no,
request the police commission
pedir que
to
la
consider
Comisión de Policía
a verified
considere
response policy
respuesta
for city offices.
verificada para las oficinas en la ciudad de los
Is that clear? Mr. Bernson?
concejales. ¿Claro, señor Bernson?
Where does that cover the original thing that was before us as far as...
That's, we're not there
No
yet.
estamos,
We're
no hemos
getting
llegado ahí,
there.
llegaremos
We're
ahí.
gonna vote on this first.
Votaremos sobre esto primero, señor Bernson. Me parece que esto está en la orden equivocada. Tenemos que decir si o no vamos a
the commission or not. Then we can go for these
anular
other-
lo que la Comisión presentó o no, pero vamos a hacer esto. Usted es el presidente, pero yo me opongo a esto. Creo que se está haciendo de manera equivocada.
On a point of order, this is appropriate. That's a new
Esto es adecuado, esto es
issue.
un
It
nuevo
should
asunto.
be considered
Debe
a
ser
10-vote
considerado con un voto.
consideration and whether it should go to committee or not.
Y si
And
debe
that
ir a
should really
comité o
go
no,
to
eso
committee.
debe de ir al
Ms.
comité.
Masikowski, Chair of Public Safety.
Mr. Weiss's motion, which is
La
to
moción,
talk
señor
about
Weiss, es de hablar
consideration by the Police Commission and the task force, as
Consideración de
Ms.
la
Gruhl
policía,
said, about verified
considerar la-
response for council offices is appropriate to go to the task force because we've all talked about what the task force is doing. So 13A, as we've now separated on the offices, is something that will go both to the commission and the task force for consideration of appropriate verification. And it's just, it really should be considered a friendly amendment, but I think that is not important.
Colleagues, and let me remind us, last week we created this working group with the 60-day time frame item as an 8-vote item, this is doing nothing more than giving that working group something else to consider. So, Madam Clerk, would you now please open the roll on the second portion of item 13A? Roll is open. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
9 ayes, 3 noes.
That is approved. We now move to the first portion, or the first moving clause of item 13A, which is to receive and file the Section 245 motion. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
8 ayes, 4 noes.
That is approved. Section 245 is received and filed. Forthwith, please, and we move on to the next item.
Next item, Mr. President, item number 23, called special by Councilmember Labange.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you. Could I have the CAO at the front desk right here? Mr. Fuchioga? Bill? Members, this is a motion that I put in and seconded by Nick Pacheco to request the department review, department by department savings to look where efficiencies can be made and realized in consolidating city departments. As we all know, we're going to be going through a tough budget season. Our maximum effort, just by what was just spoken of, is to serve the public. And I just wanted to ask Bill to give us an update. And what is your timetable the next couple of weeks? What can we expect so we can look and focus on this issue?
Para incluir y enfocarnos en este asunto. Gracias. Mañana en presupuesto de finanzas nuestra oficina presentará
financial status report with some recommendations on how we can address some of the shortfalls in the various department budgets, but also just the basic status of the city's finances. As part of that report, we're also going to suggest that we move forward on a number of consolidation proposals to address some structural changes in the city's budget. Tomorrow's report will speak to some very broad general concepts without identifying, except for a couple instances, some very specific consolidations. Subsequently, in the next 2 weeks, it is our intent to come back through your Budget and Finance Committee and identify some specific consolidations. Now, well, let me back up. The intent of the consolidations is to eliminate some redundancies in the management and administrative structures of either various functions or departments. We also want to look at how we can improve some cost and operational efficiencies through some consolidations. Now, coming back to either tomorrow or even in 1 week and identifying some specific consolidations with cost savings and efficiencies and so on, would be very, very difficult to do. What we'd like to do is to take more of a structured approach where tomorrow we talk in general terms, subsequently in 2 weeks to come back with some specific study areas, get your approval to move forward on the studies, and then subsequent to that, implement some very detailed cost and operational analyses. And then come back to you and say, here are the savings we could achieve, here are the efficiencies that we can also achieve, and then get your approval. There are some consolidations that I feel we should go forward with this year and not wait for just the budget process. One that comes to mind, I'll just throw one on the table right now because I've talked to both entities. The City Attorney's Office has a bill collection process that consists of about 45 positions. We also have an Office of Finance whose responsibility includes bill collection, and more importantly, has a revenue manager in that office. Consolidating, moving the City Attorney's bill collection function and consolidating it with the Office of Finance's bill collection function would result in some efficiencies, but also some cost savings. That's very typical of the consolidation proposals that we'll be bringing forward to your council.
Thank you very much. I just want to let us all to try to prime up. Our goal is to serve the public and provide them services. And when you spoke of management position, administrative positions, where they can be consolidated, so there's a maximum dollar put back in this level of service to the street, to the community, to the neighborhood is more important, is the most important thing. So I greatly appreciate that. That's the intent. I did want to mention too, I know some time ago I spoke of, and it's a somewhat controversial idea, but even in collecting trash 4 days a week, And the economy
basura
of
4
costs, the pollution, there's
veces por
555
semana.
sanitation trucks citywide. That would take them off every one, that would be a whole load
Esto sería
of pollution that wouldn't be operating on one day a week. It's an opportunity.
daño al
And even in the
ambiente
summer
que se ha
hours of looking
disminuido.
to work with our labor management organizations, it's important to have the support of labor to do this because the teamwork that is so effective in serving the public. But look at some hours, if 4:10, when we are out paving a street, and at summer light hours, gives us that extra hours to save more. An effective use in those hours, I think, would be very beneficial. Even 3:12, if you really pave it. I know Crew 152 did a tremendous job on Hollywood Boulevard between Western and Gower this last fall, where they did the whole thing completely, and it was all organized, and looking at some of those aspects. So I appreciate what you're doing. Members, I wanted to call this to your attention because the importance of the budget crisis I'm going in, we're all going into with the state level, and also how it affects the county. It's right here, Mr. Holden, and also how it affects the city of Los Angeles and other cities in this county. So I wanted to just say, go forward, look at all those things, and bring them back and put them on the table. You're going through Mr. Pacheco's committee.
Sophia, is it ready?
It's extremely important, but look at everything, how to serve the people best from the community level. Thank you very much, Mr. Fujioka.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other members wishing to be heard on this item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item number 29, called special by Councilmember Holden.
Mr. Holden.
Skip 26.
26 is a closed session item.
Oh, yeah. Mr. President, members, we should have a report on this. The need to go outside for a contractor to analyze this study. And
with the Chief Legislative Analyst's Office. There was a previous recommendation approved by City Council for the CLA and the mayor, to authorize the CLA and the mayor to release an RFP for the development of a methodology to review the petted and traffic stop data currently collected by LAPD. With the posting of that data on January 6th, we reported to committee both regarding the data and sought direction to expeditiously release that. That RFP has been provided to the independent monitor of the U.S. Department of Justice. We received comments from them on January 14th.
Recibimos comentarios del Departamento de Justicia. El 14 de enero estamos en proceso de incorporar estos comentarios con el RFP con una anticipación de presentar ese RFP en las 2 semanas después. Nos han pedido el Comité de Seguridad reportar información sobre estos asuntos.
the Justice Department gave in some suggested recommendations that go to the RFP. We asked us to approve an RFP without having access to all the information. What was their recommendation?
They had, the independent monitor and DOJ had several recommendations. As noted in the CLA report, one of the requests in the RFP is for the contractor to look at other programs throughout the nation where they have collected data and tried to accomplish data analysis so that we can learn from those mistakes or issues that they identified and not repeat those same issues. The U.S. Department of Justice and the independent monitor expressed concern. They did not want the city of Los Angeles to take 6 months to review what everybody else had done. They thought that would delay the process. We have had discussions with the independent monitor and DOJ that we believe if we're hiring a qualified contractor, that would not take that long of a period. And when the proposals come back, if that is indeed what the proposals propose, it would be appropriate for the city to revisit that. However, we do believe we don't want to spend substantial funds and find out that someone else tried that same thing and it didn't work. We think it's prudent for us to go and understand that. The independent monitor also recommended that we look at the dissent of officers when we review the data. We were concerned about that as a process
esto como
indicating
proceso
that
indicando
regardless
que
of the dissent of
no
the officer, if their
obstante
behavior is
el
inappropriate, it's
oficial, si el
inappropriate.
oficial es
And so we express
la actitud
concern
del oficial es
about
adecuada,
putting
se comporta,
those kind of
entonces
reviews
damos,
into this process.
otro detalle en ese tipo
It
de
appears on the surface,
repaso en el
I hate to say
proceso.
this about the
Parece
Justice
que
Department, but they're buying into the program.
el
From
Partido
where I come from,
Socialista
sometimes they're saying they
aprobando este
working
programa.
with
Ellos están
in
trabajando.
cahoots. The word is in cahoots with the process. Just is not going to
Ese
work.
proceso,
And they have
estos
to know that.
funcionarios tienen que
The
saberlo.
question is, I'm going to
La
ask now, are they
pregunta que yo haré es
serious
que están ellos
about
serios
seeking
acerca de
compliance from the city of Los Angeles
pedir
as
que
it
se
relates to
cumpla esta
racial
regulación
profiling?
hacia Los Ángeles en
I mean,
cuanto a
you saying
la
let's do a
identificación
study?
racial?
You have
Diciendo,
sufficient
hay que hacer un
material right
estudio,
now.
material
The
suficiente
study's
ahora
already
para
been
el
made.
estudio ya
That's
se
number
llevaron
one.
a cabo, principalmente.
Number two,
Número
to
dos,
ask for additional
pedir
information,
información adicional
continue this study while you let a contract out to study that which you've acquired
para
already.
contar con este estudio,
Doesn't make any sense.
emitir un contrato
Your study is real
por el
clear.
estudio que ya se lleva a cabo.
Citywide,
No tiene sentido, esto es bastante claro.
the number of stops
Sobre la
between
ciudad,
white,
la
blacks,
cantidad de
Hispanics. 37% white, 20% black, which is
entre
37,000,
hispanos,
43%
afroamericanos,
Hispanic,
otros colores.
78,000 out of the total.
Hay
And
estadísticas.
what is that you need to know?
¿Qué necesitas
And they
saber
break it down
ahora?
even further,
Y lo
more
detallan aún
detail
más,
from the
más
specific
detalladamente
bureau that you stopped in, the
del
division that you stopped
departamento y la
in.
división que
They already know
hizo
that. Then the
estos
question is, what are you going to do about it in
parados.
terms
Ya
of
no saben
educating
qué
police
van a
officers,
hacer para
getting
educar a
them to
los agentes de
understand that the
policía
Justice
que
Department
entiendan
is
que el
serious, at
Departamento
least
de
they used to be
Justicia
serious
está
about
cero,
correcting the
menos era
problem.
cero acerca de corregir el problema.
They are just throwing the towel because they're not going to ask
Se
you to
están
do anything.
venciendo porque no les
When you
pedirán que
stall
hagan nada.
this
Cuando
and
usted
stall
demora
and
esto y
stalling
demora
it,
esto y demora esto,
I never thought the Justice
nunca pensé que el
Department would
Departamento de
sign off on
Justicia
anything like
iba a
this.
aprobar
And you are not being
algo
fair
como
to the
si usted no
council
está siendo
person
justo
for not providing
al
them the
concejal al
information
no
as to what's
proveer la
going to go into
información
the
en cuanto a lo que
RFP before
se le
it
incluye en el
goes
RFP
out.
antes de
Here
que
you
este
asking us
sea
to vote
expedido. Nos
to
está
submit
pidiendo que
an
votemos para
RFP to study the information which we
la
have,
información
which
que
is
tenemos, el
conclusive,
cual
and we can
es
make a decision
conclusivo,
from it
podemos
right
tomar
now.
decisión de esta
And you're acquiring additional
información y
information.
usted requiere información
That's a
adicional.
fraud
Esto es
on
un
people
fraude.
who came here and caused the Justice Department to sue us, to try to make something good come out of it, because it's not coming out of it at all. I know that, and sometimes I just got tired of barking about it, but I have no choice. There are people at the table who were there when this consent decree was first approved, and it just is almost like we're not going to do anything in your face,
No vamos a
public.
hacer nada en su cara
That's what it
público.
seemed to
Eso
me,
es-
and
parece que está
that's
ocurriendo
really the way it
y
is.
eso es
I
lo
don't think
que
we
es
need to
cierto.
go
No
out
creo que
and do an
tenemos
RFP for
que
this. We have sufficient information to make changes
presentar un
within the
RFP.
police
Tenemos
department
suficiente
to correct the
información para hacer
problem,
cambios en
the
el
racial
departamento para
profile.
corregir
And
ese
all you're going
problema,
to do is
problema
just
de
prolong
identificación.
the
Lo único
agony
que harán es
for the people
prolongarán
of
la
this city.
agonía
Justice
del
Department is
personas
throwing in
de
the
esta
towel. They're not
ciudad.
doing anything about it either as far as I'm
Sancionará
concerned, because
para
they're not
resolver esto.
pushing enough. They're buying your gimmick, because that's really all it is. And I'm voting no on it. Sending my message loud
Votaré
and
no.
clear.
Sobre esto mandaré mi mensaje claramente.
Other members wishing
¿Algún
to
otro
be
miembro
heard?
que desea hacer presentación?
Seeing
¿Y
none,
no?
Madam Clerk, please
Actuario,
open the
abre ese
roll.
voto,
Please close the roll
cierre ese voto
and
y
tabulate the
cuente
vote.
voto.
11 ayes, 1
11
no.
sí,
That is
1 no. Ha
approved.
sido aprobado.
Next item, please.
Procedamos.
Next item, Mr. President, there are two specials not on council's agenda. The first one is a motion presented by Councilmember Weiss and seconded by Councilmember Reyes.
Mr. City Attorney on the findings.
Pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2B2, I have not been provided sufficient facts that I could read into the record upon which council could consider on this item.
Members wishing to be heard on the findings. Mr.
On the
Weiss.
findings, I just got to tell you, I disagree with you, because
Estoy de acuerdo con
that
usted
reading of
porque
law
esto
would provide 3
significaba
days
ley
rather than
proveerá 3 días
5
en vez de
days
5
to bring a
días
Section
de
245.
traer
So if we
el
only have
artículo
3 days, we should know that.
Vamos a 3 días,
But
debemos de
this
saber esto,
is
pero esto es
a Section 245
Sección
arising from the decision of the South Valley
de una
Area
decisión
Planning
del área
Commission, which
Comisión de
ought to be reviewed by the Plum
Planificación
Committee,
del Sur
and the
del
Plum
Valle.
Committee needs to
Tiene que
hear
ser repasado
a
por el
presentation
Comité Plum.
from the
Ellos
City
tienen que
Attorney's
escuchar la
Office
presentación de
regarding
la
another similar
Fiscalía
matter
Municipal
that
tocante a otro
was
asunto
also
similar que
recently decided
también
in the
hace
courts.
poco
I ask for an aye vote.
se decidió en
Other
el
members wishing to
tribunal.
be
Pido
heard
un
on the
voto sí.
findings. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open the
Actuario,
roll
abre
on
ese
the
voto.
findings. Please close the
Cierre ese
roll
voto
and
y
tabulate the
cuente
vote.
voto.
12 ayes.
12 sí.
Special one is
Especial
before
uno
us.
ahora está pendiente
On the motion itself,
en esta moción.
members on the motion itself. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open
Abra
the
ese
roll.
voto,
Please close the roll
cierre ese
and
voto
tabulate
y
the vote.
cuente voto.
12 ayes.
12 sí.
That is approved.
Ha sido
Vote, please.
aprobado. Procedamos.
Next item.
Special 2 is a motion
Especial
presented by
moción presentada
Councilmember
por el
Gruhl and
concejal
seconded by
Gruhl.
Councilmember Garcetti.
On the findings, Mr. City Attorney.
Yesterday, February 3rd,
Ayer, el 3 de
2003,
febrero
a
de
fire
2003,
forced the vacation
un
of a senior citizen and her
incendio
son from the rental unit on
hizo
South
que
Normandy Avenue. This family
una
is
persona
eligible
mayor
for
de edad y su
assistance under the
hijo
interim
fueran
guidelines for
desalojados de
displaced
su
tenant
hogar.
relocation assistance. If council determines pursuant to the
Esto,
government code that there is a
moción
need to
pide
take immediate action on this matter and that
otorgar
the need for action
asistencia
came to the
por
attention of the city
desalojamiento
council,
por una emergencia.
subsequent to the posting of the agenda for today's meeting, council may then consider the substantive motion.
Members on the motion itself.
Miembro de esta moción.
Excuse me, on the findings. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open the roll
Abra
on
ese
the
voto.
findings. Please close the
Cierre ese
roll
voto
and
y
tabulate the
cuente
vote.
voto.
12 ayes.
12 sí.
Special 2 now before
Ese
us.
dos está
Members on the
pendiente,
motion
miembros de esta
itself.
moción.
Seeing none,
Ni uno.
Madam Clerk, please
Actor,
open the
abra ese
roll.
voto,
Please close the roll
cierre ese
and
voto y
tabulate the
cuente
vote.
voto.
12 ayes.
12 sí.
That is approved.
Ha sido
Forthwith,
aprobado.
please.
Procedamos.
And members, we still have a
Aún
special
tenemos
meeting agenda
una
remaining.
agenda
Let us now temporarily
especial.
recess
Ahora
the
vamos
regular
a
meeting. And Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll on the special meeting?
Pasar a la
Galanter,
reunión
Garcetti, Gruhl,
especial.
Han, Holden, Labange, Miskowski, Pacheco, Perry, Reyes, Weiss, Sine, Padilla, 12 members present in the quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Special meeting agenda now before us. It is a one-item
La
agenda.
reunión
Madam
de
Clerk,
agenda especial
the item,
de un
please.
asunto.
The item is
Asunto
acceptance
es,
of bids and award of sale of parking system revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed
Expresión de
$42 million. And this morning, the bids were open in the city attorney, in the city administrative officer's office, and the bid was awarded to Lehman Brothers at a true interest cost of 4.34%, and a resolution is before the council for adoption.
Members wishing to be heard on this item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please
Secretario,
open the
abre ese
roll.
voto, cierre ese
Please
voto y
close the
cuente
roll
voto.
and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12
That is
sí, ha sido
approved.
aprobado.
Forthwith,
Procedamos,
please.
por favor.
Let us now adjourn the special
Ahora
meeting and return to the
pasaremos luego
regular
a la
meeting
reunión
agenda.
regular.
Next item.
Next item, Mr. President, this is the time for comments from the public
Momento de
on items not on
comentarios
council's
públicos en la
agenda.
And
agenda del
seeing no
día de hoy,
requests from
sin
members of the
petición
public to address
del
the council,
público.
public comment for today's
Comentario
meeting is
para la
closed.
audiencia del día de hoy
Do you wish to
cerrado.
clear the desk
Desea-
before going into closed
Ahora
session?
pasaremos a
housekeeping.
audiencias
Council has
cerradas.
motions for posting and referral.
Motion shall be posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Galanter requests to
Galanter
excuse
pide
Friday,
estar ausente el
February
viernes
21st for
21
city
de
business
febrero.
that meets council policy.
Ms. Galanter is excused.
Councilmember Burnson requests to be
Burnson pide
excused Wednesday, February
ausente
5th, to
miércoles
leave at
5 de febrero, irse a las
11:30,
11:30.
and Tuesday
El
and
martes
Wednesday,
y
February
miércoles
11th and
11 de
12th.
febrero y
Those are all
12.
for city business, and also the first, second, and third Fridays, all for city business. Motion is required on the excuse request for February 14th.
Mr. Garcetti moves. Excuse granted.
And that clears the desk for closed session.
Okay, in conformance with
De
California
acuerdo
law,
a
the
la ley
council will now
estatal, el
adjourn into
Consejo
closed session.
Municipal cerrará las puertas
Guards,
bajo
please clear the
puerta
chambers.
cerrada.
Welcome back into open session. Madam Clerk, matter before us, please.
Item number 26, which is an appropriation of $1.2 million for outside counsel in cases of Santa Monica Baykeeper versus City of Los Angeles and United States et al. Versus City of Los Angeles, and also this matter will also be continued for further discussion on Friday for a presentation.
Please open the roll.
Ask for no vote.
Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
9 ayes, 1 no.
That is approved.
That was the money.
Forthwith. Next item, please.
That clears the desk, Mr. President.
Members, are there any announcements today? Other than wishing our colleague, Councilmember Garcetti, a happy birthday? Other announcements? Seeing none, please rise for adjourning motions. Adjourning motions. Members, let me begin our adjourning tributes the way we began today's meeting and ask that the council adjourn today in memory of Rick Husband, William McCool, Michael Anderson, Kalpana Chawla, David Brown, Laurel Clark, and Ilan Ramon.
All members.
The 7 astronauts and heroes that not only this country but the world lost this last Saturday in the Columbia Shuttle tragedy. All members. Mr. Burnson. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I would ask that Mr. Pacheco and myself, colleagues, if we could adjourn today in the memory of Michael Weinberg, who is a resident of Glassell Park. Some of you will remember, I know Councilmember Mizikowski helped us in dealing with a street, Roderick Road in Glassell Park, in which Mr. Weinberg was a big activist in trying to improve his neighborhood, figure out traffic, and save people from needless potential traffic accidents and injuries. Mr. Weinberg's partner had passed away of AIDS recently, and on the 29th, he went a few blocks away from his house and went over the wall, forest lawn, to his partner's grave and committed suicide. And he's somebody who Glassell Park and the city of Los Angeles certainly will miss, and we hope that he rests in peace. As for the Columbia astronauts, I was reminded earlier while the presentations were being made of a quote by Emerson. He said, "When it is dark enough, men see the stars." And though our nation is at a time of darkness, we do have our head looking up at those that have been so brave and that we have lost. But certainly, not only their memory, but their mission for us always to look at the stars lives on.
Ms. Hahn.
I just wanted to also add my bit of remembrance of the Columbia crew, and it's significant because that roster was a microcosm of America. It included 2 women, an African American, a Navy pilot, an Air Force colonel, a naturalized U.S. citizen from India, a physician, and an Israeli military veteran who was the son of a Holocaust survivor. They were praised not only in this country but around the globe because their endeavors served all of humanity and because astronauts ignite the imaginations of people everywhere. I also liked the quote from the Reverend David Waller of Titusville, Florida, in describing that scene that we were all watching on Saturday, which was, "This was not unlike a multifaceted, glistening tear across the face of the heavens."
Mr. Holden.
Mr. President, members, I'm sure you heard it over again, and that not only did America cry and shed tears, but people all around the world. This was international flight, and people around the world were looking to these heroes to return home safely. That didn't happen. But as already been stated, they are at home, and they are safe, and they did accept the challenge. The advent of the space age was embarked upon in the late 50s. And we accepted the challenge of, as I said earlier, of Sputnik then, and we accepted the challenge after this failure. We have American people who won't quit, will ascend into the space far and beyond that which we've already attained and accomplished. As we landed on the moon, we go far beyond that. Mr. President, they will be missed, but their mission is accomplished, and there'll be others to follow.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I just wanted to echo some of the words that others spoke, but also as Janice Hahn spoke about the diversity of the crew, which really made up what America's all about and how we reach out to other people and other nations would join in space flight. And as spoken earlier when the mayor was in chambers about the Mercury and Gemini and Apollo and Walter Cronkite and always talking about the space program. And then so much here in Southern California contributed to part of that. Columbia, I believe in Gardena, a very important manufacturing took place, and all of the country builds that, and all of the country sends its best. I just wanted to echo those thoughts because I know it's touching an awful lot of people. I'm sure a lot of people in Pasadena, JPL, and on the way. And I think there was a remarkable picture by a Daily News photographer in Owens Valley who got up early, very early that morning to capture it crossing the California sky, and in the foreground is satellites. And sorry, I don't recall the photographer's name. I believe it's Higgins, but I'm not sure on that. But it was absolutely a marvelous photograph of what we all see the Columbia to be as it sailed across the sky, but unfortunately met a tragedy above the skies of East Texas. May they rest in peace, and may give the others who follow in their footsteps greater strength to continue to explore the space and beyond.
Other members? Other tributes? Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Thank you all very much. This meeting is adjourned.